Hello, everybody. How's it going? It is December 21st. This is my last live before Christmas. And I wanted to do something a little bit special, something a little bit different, but definitely something super exciting. So let's just see who we've got here. Good to see you all. Familiar faces. Strafe Wilson, good to see you. Dope Nose Wilfred. Laura Sosa, good to see you as always. Joss Yorne, how's it going, guys? So, yeah, thanks for being here, guys. Let's jump into it. Let's introduce my guest for this last live before Christmas. Um, this is a good friend of mine. We've been friends for some time now, over the past year, and I've wanted to do this interview for a very long time, and here we are. So, without further ado, please welcome Mr. Ashley Cowie. Ashley, how's it going, man?
It's impossible to live up to that intro. Fact. Thank you so much. Yeah, indeed. This has been a while planned and a while in the offering, so I'm delighted to be joining you on your channel.
Thank you so much, man. We've been doing so much talking behind the scenes for quite some time now, and yeah, I'm so glad we're finally here, man. It's exciting.
It
So,
is.
yeah, like look at that background as well. Look at that, man.
The whole purpose of being here is to discuss what essentially is this background. Let me show you. Watch this.
Let's
Have
do
I
it. Let's
covered
do
that?
it.
If we covered this, no, let's avoid it. We'll come back in. But what's behind me? There's a mountain behind me, and when I get out of the way of the camera later on, we'll discuss the relevance that has and why I'm sitting here. But indeed, this is rural Colombia, and we're going to venture right into that soon.
Yeah, so for everyone out there, it's not Scotland on a sunny day. Ash is Scottish, but is living in Colombia. But we'll get into all of that. We will. So, Ash, I think you've got a presentation. Should we just jump straight in there because I can't wait to see it? And
Yeah, indeed. If you want me to share my screen, we'll get on with this. And if there's a lot of people haven't heard of me, a lot of people in the UK have seen things that I've done there, but I think the best way for people to learn who I am and what I'm trying to bring to the table is just to watch the presentation.
yeah.
What's in there is infinitely more interesting than I could ever be.
So if you can maximize your screen behind the scenes, and then I can see once you've done that, and we can jump straight into it.
Okay, here we go.
Here we go, everyone. Let's do it. There we go. Look at that. I'm going to
So
mute
good.
myself.
So you tell me when you've handed the controls over, Vinny.
It's all yours, bro.
All right. I'm Ashley Cowie, explorer, filmmaker, television presenter, and author. My platform online is History Fuzz. And the reason I'm bringing this presentation today is because we're about to launch a new film project in Colombia. We're filming in February. So what I'm about to show you and share with you will give you an insight into the project that I'm going to announce at the end of this presentation. So for those who have never heard of me, this screen presents a resume of what I've been up to in the last 20 years. On the left, there's a country list which represents the countries I've filmed documentaries in. I'm probably best known in America for working with Josh Gates on Expedition Unknown, where he's most recently been in Colombia searching for the mythical city of El Dorado. We just had our show there, the premiere on his season 9. And in Scotland, I'm maybe known for the People's History show, where I worked with Sarah Mack on 2 seasons going around Scotland looking at the history of our great nation. On the right are the 3 books that I've found time to publish in my life. The Rosalind Templar was the study of a 19th century pastel painting that surfaced in auction in Scotland 10 years ago. The person who bought the painting asked me to try and identify the figure dressed as a Knight Templar in a famous Scottish church. In this publication of the book, I never did identify him. However, I know exactly who it is now, and a forthcoming book will be revealing who that is. But most recently, I wrote A Twist in Time, which is it's a deep dive into a time that existed before the Stone Age, which I call the Rope Age. For never a stone was cut, measured, or built without a rope master pulling a rope behind it. Before there was pyramids, there was rope masters. Before there was sailing craft, there was rope masters. Before we could farm, we had to build ropes. So this is a deep dive into the history of rope Can you believe it? We're 10 minutes in and I haven't mentioned a UFO yet. So look, Vinny, what I should say to you is, rather than me start to say, oh, I've done this and I've been there and I did, why don't you choose a country there on the left, and I'll maybe share with you what I filmed there or a story I told, and we can and that'll give people an idea of the kind of things that I film.
Yeah, that
Action
sounds good.
adventures. Go on.
I'm going to go straight to the top, and I'm just going to go Argentina, man.
You really think of that a lot of thought. Argentina, right? So, okay, so in the October of 2019, I was in Colombia living, and I got a phone call from my agent in Los Angeles. And you must know, and certainly a lot of people listening to this will know, the Egyptologist Rami Romani. He's an Egyptologist that appears a lot in Ancient Aliens. So he was away down in Argentina looking for 3 mummified children buried at the top of a volcano. And he needed to meet me in Peru and help him work through maps to figure out where best to go on this show. So anyway, I flew into Cachi in Argentina, and unbeknownst to me, the second location, the second day, was the Argentina's hotspot, Cachi. It's a UFO hotspot. More sightings there than in any other location in Argentina every year. So here we were, 14,000 feet high. We spent a whole night at this huge white star-shaped form on the ground. A Danish guy came over in the 1950s and built a UFO landing site. We filmed the whole night away looking for UAP in the sky and stuff. And this is absolute. Listen to this. It's the first time I've ever seen this happen on TV. Rami, myself, and the camera guy were sitting there about 2 o'clock in the morning. And without going into what's or anything else, we saw this red light just ping across the sky. And we were absolutely dumbfounded at Cachi, this UFO hotspot. It went back to the edit in LA, and they decided not to put it into the show because nobody would believe it and it would take away from the greater story. So we just left it out, and that's the truth now. However, I will say this, that guy Rami, he comes across as this really intense Egyptologist on screen, but he is one of the funniest human beings I have ever worked with, and I've never seen a guy control a group of people in a really bad, far out, extreme situation than him. So there you go. There's the Argentina UFO story. It just happened to have a UFO connection.
Nice. I like it. I've got a quick question here.
Mm.
My friend Christian says, how can you write about Vikings and not have been to Denmark or Norway?
It's just such a brilliant question. There's no excuse for that. I've been to Iceland 3 times, Faroes, I've been to Shetland. However, is it Christian, did you say his name was?
Yeah.
Okay, then he will know that the Viking history greatly started in the north of Scotland, because it was in the 7th century they overtook the Orkney Islands. And while you watch Vikings on History Channel, okay, this is my excuse for never having been to Norway, just confuse the issue. No, but listen to me. All of the invasions of Northern Europe by Rollo and his brother Ragnar, these invasions began from the north of Scotland. They took over the islands Orkney, and they started invading Ireland, north of Scotland, then worked down. So there you go. That's why I didn't go to Norway, because I didn't need to, Christian. Anyway, next question, quick. I just never got to Norway.
Do you want to? Shall I choose another country, or do you want to carry on with the presentation? It's completely up to you.
Listen, this is probably, choose a country. Go for it. Let's do it.
Anybody in the chat? I'll give you 20 seconds, 15 seconds. Someone choose a country. I'm looking. Sweden.
Right. In a nutshell.
Oh, is it not on the list though? Yeah, for everyone watching, it's got to be on the list.
Oh no, sorry. I was about to hit you with Switzerland. I'll tell you what. Let's do a non-European one, because they're a bit predictable.
Here we go. We've got non-European. So the first non-European we've got is Africa.
Right, amazing. So Lalabella in Africa. I'd just been filming in Jerusalem for 36 hours. This is back in 2011 for a show called Legend Quest. This really bizarre camp archaeology meets sort of Indiana Jones meets the Da Vinci Code show that I got caught up in, I always say. However, we flew to Lalabella. By the time we got there, I was 42 hours without sleep, and we started filming. And we were filming shots in this truck. And after 2 hours, I remember the producer going, dude, you've just hit the 50-hour mark, no sleep. And guess what happened? We're driving down this hill in absolute outback Africa. Excuse me, we have a call coming in. I need to cut that off.
It's your agent.
Yeah, he's saying, what are you doing on that Mugs channel? You never got him to sign off. I'll tell you what, I'm the only guy that's gone 20 minutes into an interview with you and not said I can't say that because it's classified or under an NDA. This is actually quite a free cast. So we were in Lalabella, and essentially the brakes gave way of our truck, and I smashed up this kind of a 4x4, an old Range Rover, before we'd even started filming. So it had just had disaster all over it. However, we slept, and the next day we got to what are 12 rock-cut churches dug into the sedimentary rock in an area in a town called Lalabella. And the reason we were there was because legends have it that the Ark of the Covenant was taken down from Africa, down into Africa, and hidden by Solomon. And we were following the story of the movements of the Ark of the Covenant. And of course, we got there and I interviewed a high priest in one of these churches. However, it was all about the Ark of the Covenant, that show. I was a younger man and it was all so dramatic. What never made the film when we were in Africa was the discoveries we made. That's not me ringing, but we have ringing coming through.
It's not coming from my end.
Dude, I can't even... Okay, so I've got a phone here, but it's off. It's bizarre. So anyway, we filmed in these rock-cut churches in Lalabella, and it was absolutely fantastic. We were photographing them with drones, and we were measuring out the different types of crosses that the churches were measured up into. So we ended up going from there back up to Italy. And then, yeah, it was one of the best and one of the most brutal filming exercises I've ever been on. I saw things there that just opened my eyes. Here's the thing. In Lalabella, there was a wee fellow called John, and he came up and he petitioned us for money, and one of us went to give him cash, and this fellow came over to us and he says that the child could have his hands bound for a week. And the reason is this: because if John gets a coin off us, he becomes ultimately wealthier than all the other children, and his life is under danger. So to give and to try and help in those situations was endangering. So there was this thing that happened when I was in Africa where we flew out. We were all ill and from the water, but it kind of changed my life. It kind of changed the way I saw everything. I've never seen such poor living conditions in my life. Right. So from hotspots in Argentina to rural Africa, both quite a contrast, but really, really interesting stuff. It's all archaeology and history I film. Everything's kind of based in the past.
That's incredible. I think it goes to show the kind of, you go to these places for a job to film a documentary, but the culture shocks must be something else.
You start getting numb, right? This is the thing. It starts to be, because when you're filming, you are looking at down the barrel of a camera. I'll tell you something. This is crazy. We filmed in the city of David in Jerusalem for 3 days. We filmed at the temple site. We filmed at all of the key sites, and we even filmed in sewers underneath the city. And when we left, I remember thinking to myself, I don't remember much of the Wailing Wall. I don't, because it's behind me. I'm looking at cameras for like maybe 8 hours, as long as there's light. So what you start to do is get really conscious of that you're missing a lot when you're telling the stories of the country. So I take a lot more time now when I'm there, days on either end of the trips, to actually go back to some of the places we filmed, go back to some of the folk we interviewed, and try to take a bit more, because like that show Legend Quest, we did 24 countries in 4 months. I hate that, what I just said. I hate people who say I did a country. You visit a country, you do not do countries, Anyway, yeah, so now it's all kind of different. And now I live in I've been 5 years in Colombia in South America. And yeah, I'll tell you now, I'm still completely bamboozled with the culture. I am so clearly a Scottish guy who should never have left Scotland. I struggled so bad. I was at a wedding on Saturday night, okay, and I was 6 vodka and tonics in, and I was on that floor with Spanish cumbia going, And I was pointing to the DJ one of those nights. It was just great, this wedding. And I turned around and there was three women there. And there was a big space between me and them, these grannies, these old abueletas. And you know something? I realized after about 10 seconds that the space existed not because they were giving me space to dance. It was because I was dancing. I was just like a newly born baby horse, like a giraffe trying to get onto its legs for the first time. Big, tall, skinny Scottish Viking amongst all these Latinas.
Amazing. Oh, that's
Indeed.
so cool. Right.
Back on point. Let's not do another country. Let's get straight on to this stuff.
It's all yours, man.
Right, cool. Right. I live in the Tenjo and Tabio Valley in Cundinamarca in Colombia on the central high Andean plain. To those who don't know, Colombia takes up a vast part of northern South America, and the Tenjo and Tabio Valley, marked here by this red patch in the middle, is about 2,000 miles from the sea. It's landlocked, and it was home to one of the four high cultures of the Andes, the Muisca people. So when the War of the Roses and stuff was going on in England, we had a civilization called the Muisca that were led by a high king in the south, if you like, called the Zipa. This valley we live in was the royal garden of the Zipa. He owned this entire Bacata savanna, which was one of the richest, most resourceful agricultural centers in South America. We live right here in the center of this valley that was revealed about 30,000 years ago when the prehistoric Lake Humboldt receded. So, where I work, and I mean this, for the last 2 years since this coronavirus racket, I've not been out of the place, and I just turned to the hills, I turned to the mountains, I film in the mountains, we play there, I photograph from there. Sorry, I should say this to establish myself. This is awful. I studied filmmaking and photography in Glasgow after high school. I worked within different industries until my 30s, but I ended up teaching filmmaking at the University of West Scotland. I've taught photography since, so I am a filmmaker and photographer hands-on. I'm not the director with the black hat in the seat that tells people what to do. I'm very often and more often behind the camera, as you're about to see. So these mountains here, it's called the Tenjo and Tabio Valley, and as you're about to see throughout the presentation, there's lots of connections with other famous valleys, Hesdalen, as we go. So what I do is, essentially in the last 4 years, is I fly teams of explorers, scientists, and students to the Andes, and I serve them as a guide. And what we do is we fund and film these independent filmmaking projects. So 12 people here, all paid, all became co-producers. We put out a private film on the Ancient Origins platform.
Nice.
So this is 2019, and this worked. We had these 12 people out here. It was absolutely amazing. We had a hydrologist out who was studying the valley. We had a mineralogist. We had a museologist, lots of ologists. But then we had some crackers. We had a musician. We had some crazy political people. There was just this really big bandwidth of folk, and we loved it. And I realized I can make a living in Colombia doing what I love, just taking folk out and showing them archaeology, letting them discover stuff. So this is where we do. I mean, I love this, Vinny. This is what we get up to. We identify locations where we think there might be archaeology, pictograms, and we get there. And sometimes it takes us a long time to get there. This is myself and a hydrologist from Austria. We were looking for tunnels on what you're about to learn all about, the Cerro de Huayca, the sacred mountain in our valley. So this here took us 2 days to get to, 1 day to go up and scale, next day to cut away the rotten trees. And this is us at 2,800 meters, about 300 meters down from the top of this mountain. And I freaked out. I turned into a 14-year-old pedantic brat. And no, you have no idea. I can't do heights. And I had to, because I was filming this and I was leading this thing. So I couldn't be that guy, Vinny. I froze up there. Okay. So this guy manhandled me down over half a day. I have nothing to hide with this. And I'll tell you something, that was a major moment. Big shouts out there to Elmer. Elmer took me down that mountain and showed me this. He showed me that you cannot do everything you want to do in life on your own. Sometimes you need bigger, stronger people. And I submitted to him and that day in that mountain, and my whole life got saved and I came back down. So I always show people this thing. We do get dangerous out here. We do get off the beaten track and we do find stuff. So maybe I'm going to share with you what we find. Okay, this is when it starts to get interesting. So our next expedition in 2020, we flew a 19-year-old student in from NOAA, Wendridge, from Thurso in the north of Scotland. We flew in Walter Payne, who's a remote technology, excuse me, just one second. We flew in Walter Payne, who's a remote technology scientist from America. We took in Laurie Umberg, who's a geologist from North America, and we went out with metal detectors. I got permissions to metal detect on a private estate. So in the last 3 years, my reckoning has been that through my work on the geography of the area, I've pinpointed where the lost Temple of the Moon, the Muiscas Temple of the Moon, was recorded last in 1536, just before the arrival of Jimenez Quesada and the conquistadores. It was destructed, it was taken apart and buried somewhere in the valley here, the Temple of the Moon goddess Chia. So after 3 years, I'd located 2 positions on the maps. We flew these people in and we went looking. Top left shows you we were across the highest mountains in the hill in the valley, charting the holy roads that seemed to lead to nowhere. Anyway, we charted and tracked these holy roads to a cross point. We got metal detecting, and lo and behold, Vinny, my friend Walter, shout out to Walter Payne, see you very, very soon. And I will come back to that. Walter was scanning in this location. And to say the metal detector went crazy, Vinny. And on the bottom right, that's what he discovered. A 32-gram tumbaga, or gold and silver mix, statuette of Chia, the goddess of the moon. To say X marked the spot, Vinny. Look at it. This is a centimeter high and was carved 800 years ago. And it represents one of the smallest discoveries made in Colombian archaeological history, believe it or not. Let me explain how this works. The mountain line here, which you can see on the left, was worshipped itself as a manifestation of Chia, the goddess of the moon, who governed the valley we're in, which we're going to come to soon. You can see how she can be interpreted as having a head on the left, this perfectly formed pert breast in the center, which is represented by the Sarawaka, and the hands on her pregnant stomach. The figurine we found shows the head with the skull cap of the goddess Chia. She was depicted in indigenous mythology. She has her full breasts and her fat stomach because she's pregnant. She holds in the center of her stomach the full moon. She is the goddess of the moon, and her hands are on the side here. Look at those tiny strokes on the hands. This is a 1 centimeter high crab. You go grab Chia. Somebody has created a clay figurine of their goddess 800 years ago and used grass to create the fingers and lines. They've covered that in beeswax. They've created a mold. They've filled it in with molten gold, the tumbaga mix with silver and copper in the green pouch. And this has been cast. It was left in the ground as part of one of the lost treasures of the Temple of the Moon, we're convinced. So we're going back there this year to this site, but this is what we do, Vinny. We're out there with metal detectors looking for things and finding these kind of things. So, moving on.
Wait, can I just ask a question about the moon goddess there, or the piece that you showed? Obviously, it's valuable as far as archaeology and history goes. Does it have a particular value monetary wise as well?
It certainly does, Vinny. I've got it here. Let me show you.
Whoa!
Whoa, ho, ho! This wasn't not planned. Look at this little baby.
Wow!
There she is, 32 grams.
And they say that's gold and silver blended together.
Let me show you something. Can you see a little gold fleck on the toe?
Yes, you can see it in the image more than I can in your hand, but definitely.
And can you see on the top of the head in the image there's a hole?
Yeah.
Right. This is made from an alloy called tumbaga. It's a mixture of gold, silver, and copper. And the ancient alchemists, the Muisca alchemists, would extract these 4 metals, and then they would blend those metals depending on the version of the deity they were worshipping. For example, the sun god Sway, when it was rising, was worshipped with really light gold, so it had a high silver content. The setting sun, when they were worshipping Swa, in his setting mode, was much redder and richer, so they added more copper. When they were worshipping the diosa de la luna, the moon goddess, they added an almost pure silver mix. But what's happened with this is this gold fleck and the hole in the head tells us this was an impure mixture and there's two flaws in it. Do you know what's happened here, Vinny? I
Go
think
on.
someone's made this, thrown it over their shoulder, because
What?
never, ever would such an imperfect artifact be left to the goddess of the moon. Perfect.
Right.
Okay, here you go. In Bogota is the largest gold museum in the world. It has 55,000 golden artifacts on display. Many of them are broken now and in pieces, but not one of them shows as much as a flick of a production or a fabrication error. Perfection was given to the gods and the goddesses and left in the ground and the stones and the lagoons here. But this little guy, this little girl, represents everything that's good about the Valley of the Moon, because the traditional Muisca beliefs are that this is the valley of the goddess Chia, the Valley of the Moon. And we're going to go right into that, because this mountain range here that's been worshipped for at least 800, if not longer, years as the moon goddess Chia is intricately related to today's UFO phenomenon in Colombia. Dun, 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 and in come the blue lights. So, Tabio, I've written here, is a tiny Andean village with a big commitment to UFOs. Tabio, for the last, since 1954, has been known as Colombia's UFO hotspot. It is the home of, so let's just call it at the moment, a phenomenon, which we're going to come back to. However, what you can see here on the left is this long straight road, okay? This is an old holy road which you can see until the midpoint aligns with the tip of this mountain, which represents the breast of Huayca or Chia. Here across the valley in Tenjo, again, the mid street is straight to the opposing mountain. And the whole village, all the streets again are aligned to the top of the hill. See this road here, Vinny, on the left?
Yep.
Do you know what it's called
Go on.
on Google Maps? The Ruta de los OVNIs, and that is the road of
No.
the road of the UFOs.
Wow.
The road of the UFOs. People call this the road, but also this whole path that goes from the village to the top of the mountain is called the Ruta de los OVNIs. Now, let me take you in a little bit deeper into Tabio. However, at this moment, as we're about to bring in all danger words, let me tell you now, I am telling you what is believed, not always what I believe. You must ask me what I believe to get that. Right now, I'm going to tell you what this entire town is built on. Welcome to the UFO art of Tabio.
Wow.
So
That's
there's just,
incredible.
I did look. There's just a few examples. So on the left is a back street in Tabio, where an artist Federico has been commissioned to draw a meter by meter picture of this famous mountain. Represents Huayca, the goddess of the moon. And you can look here in the beautiful landscape. But look in the top right here, he's got a big clanging UFO flying over the top of the mountain. And look, there's an animal here being abducted. So, why would this appear in the middle of Tabia? Well, why too would the top right picture? This is an indigenous monument at the neighboring village of Tenjo. It's again about 2 meter by a meter UFO, because even the indigenous communities around here today interpret what used to be interpreted as the gods, Chia, goddess of the moon. We're going to come back to that as UFOs, Vinny. This is the fact. The culture here is so susceptible or inclined to believe in UFOs that we're going to have a laugh with this, but when I gesture a modicum of skepticism, I get called crazy. You're going to see, I'm going to show you examples of this. However, we have UFO monument. This here is a guy who he's popular around town. What he's done is he bought this estate. And because he claims to have experienced so many UFOs passing in this direction to the top of the mountain, he built a UFO landing pad. God bless him.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah, it does. And what's the thing is here is he's built this thing and people use it. They go up there, and here's the thing, Vinny. We've got two UFO cults in the valley. We have a German family who have a big house in the base of the mountain, who quite clearly have only German people there, are waiting for the return of what we're about to show you. And also, we've got this guy called William Chavez, a systems engineer who has contact OVNI. He's got an SPEX thing to a 23-man cult on the other side of the valley, all monitoring this mountain 24/7. And quite convinced, I'm going to show you what people think it is in a minute. Moving on, look at this.
What is that?
I'm just going to let you sink your eyes on that for just a minute. I'm talking too much. I'm just
Is that, wait, no. This is your presentation, but is that a legitimate photograph?
Well, you must read the headlines.
Oh, okay.
It's all in there. So this is great. So this guy, Rosny Ludelma, in 2017 went to El Tiempo, the biggest newspaper in Colombia, and said, I took this photograph over Huayca, shows on the left, and instantly he was all over the press here, okay?
Right.
So then the next morning, graphics designer from Bogota posted the top right picture and said, but hang on, I made that yesterday. Art project on my lunch. So Rosny on the left doubles down and goes, don't believe him, I think he's at it. Then the designer releases the pre-UFO photograph. Guess what? Rosny's doubled down again, and today his photograph is for sale for a lot of money in a local restaurant in Tavio, whether you believe it or not. And they sell them.
That is incredible.
But listen to this. They sell them, Vinny. That shows you that there is a huge, huge belief here. Let me tell you something. I think, yes, I read this recently. 28% of South Americans believe that alien contact will be made in this year, 2021, right? That's just over 20%. But over 80% believe it's already been made. In fact, when I did the calculation, I think it added up to 104%. one of those days. But no, I joke. But what's happened here, Vinny, differently to our country is 90% of the country are Catholic, so they believe in spirit. They have spiritual thinking. It's part of their makeup. Yeah, their structure includes angels and demons and ghosts and brujas, witches. It truly does. And here's the thing: is while we work and operate with the two pillars of Western philosophy, science, and religion, those don't exist here in indigenous concepts and cultures. You know, they have what's called cosmovision, where more like Star Wars, if you'd like, the Force, where every living thing is interconnected in a greater matrix, connected together, and where nodules occur, they build temples and shrines and have holy sites. And so therefore, you know, you've got this indigenous culture in Colombia that's now married with the modern Christian culture. So everybody either what we're about to show you here, when I'm going to move on, I need to get that off my screen. It was ridiculous, but I thought it was great. It's wonderful when you first see that. What we should do now is cut to the center of all these UFO sightings. The La Peña de Huayca is the highest hill in Cundinamarca. It's at 3,100 meters. It's between the municipalities of Tabio and Tenjo in this valley. So a year ago, we built a house here. We built a house right there where you see this picture, right? So I am taking that picture from our front, the end of our front of our estate.
Nice.
And since we've been here, right, in rural Colombia, every night it's almost a year, every night, I have had the pleasure of setting up my tripod as a photographer and photographing this mountain in all of its versions and guises and moods. So in every sense, I have become intimately connected with Chia, the goddess of the moon. Because this little pregnant goddess, remember, is what you're looking at on the screen. That nipple there, the breast of Huayca, has been worshipped for 800 years. So here's me researching this mountain. Now, since 1608, Spanish records in Tabio recorded the colonialists baptizing this mountain, Vinny, as it's actually El Cerro con Luces Danzantes, or the hill of the Dancing Lights. So 1608, we have it baptized as the Hill of the Dancing Lights. Since then, the indigenous cultures have called it La Puerta de los Dioses, the doorway of the gods. All the indigenous myths in the valley talk of Bochica, the sun god, coming to earth from a place that time forgot through the tip of the breast of the Sarawaika, through the top of this mountain.
Right.
So often are lights seen at the top of this mountain and on the path up to it for since 1608 that it's become titled today the Ruta de los OVNIs, the UFO road. So when you look further into this whole idea that lights are seen on the mountain, we call it a phenomenon. It's known as the dancing lights of Tabio, if anyone would like to Google it. You'll find thousands of translatable pages about the dancing lights of Tabio or Waika. The mountain was a center for worship of the goddess of the moon, Chia. And I found this really interesting entry from a 1970s mythologist in Tabio who talked about on Holy Friday that the mountain opens up and that the Chibcha or indigenous treasures are revealed. He claimed that this would be done with a light, that lights would show. So can you imagine, we just built a house in February and we got 8 weeks to go until this date, and it is me like, oh my goodness, how on earth can someone predict the occurrence of a phenomenon on a date that's derived from a Christian calendar, a human construct, right?
Right.
Surely a light would be climatological, and therefore it wouldn't be working in sync with a calendar. However, I was spending time every night photographing my goddess of the moon interacting with the back. I should say, Vinny, I mean, we're involved in two projects just now with actual, I'll call them, I keep referring to indigenous cultures, but I do lots of films with indigenous communities like the pure Moiskas that are left here. What we do is I show them all my alignments and the maps from their temples to their mountains, and they interpret them, play with them, and posts on Instagram and on films that we make. And what we do is we sort of map the indigenous landscape. But as I say, this center of indigenous worship of the goddess of the moon has now become the center for what sometimes amount to hundreds of UFO reportings a year. So what I did in 2020 was I went along, met Professor Eufrasio Duffo, who was the president, the top man of the Geological Society in Colombia. I went and spent a New Year's with him with his family. We got on really good. I learned dancing with Eufrasio. And I presented to Eufrasio that weekend. What I did was I said, look, let's put the UFOs to the side. Let's put all the modern UFO sightings to the side and look at this reported phenomenon, okay, this light phenomenon at the mountain. And what he told me, I'll quick read through. Unlike all other mountains in the Andes, Huayca is composed of abnormally high metallic elements, which he said interact in an unusual and unpredictable way with the environments. So we experience throughout the wet season bizarre cloud sheet lightning, he calls it, that is like constant lightning for 2 hours. He talks about mysterious balls of light and other visual effects, which he attributes to magnetic stress.
Right.
Which he thinks, like a bioelectrical formula or phenomenon whereby, let me give you a good example. He said, in the rainy season, when the sun goes down at 6:50, we only have half an hour difference. It's light at 6 a.m. and dark at 6 at night. The mountain contracts, and then all the liquid and the gaseous elements inside the mountain get pressed together and form in some form of corona effect at the top of the mountain. This is what he's going for, geomagnetic stress. And he believes the top of the mountain acts like a great big conductor. So listen to this, Vinny. Here's me deep in South America getting this from 80% of my friends and family, scientists, students, and researchers. It's UFOs and OVNIs. And then to Eufrasio and to this like remaining 10%, it's a geological phenomena. But guess what? Here's where it gets good. To Sharma, skeptoid, and to the other arch skeptics out there, this is the thing. It's neither. It can't be geological phenomenon because they say that that's shite too, and it can't be of. So I'm floating. Where do you turn when so many people since 1608 have reported lights? It was baptized as the Hill of Dancing Lights. They've been known as Las Lubes de Caballistos. They've been known as the glowing little houses, the dancing horses. They have so many different names over the centuries. So I'm floating in the middle. I'm being told of all these things, and at the same time, I'm building a house, Vinny, at the base of this mountain.
Right.
So off I went for a month, and I was thinking, let's get the camera out. Buenos dias, Marta. Sorry, just got a visitor. They're going to be quiet. So I've got to about trying to prove the theory of, as I say, the head of the Colombian Geological Society. Have we got a highly charged environment? And if so, why is it charged more so than any other places? And how does the electrical phenomenon then relate to all of the UFO phenomenon and UAP phenomenon, which we're going to get to?
Nice.
And so this is what I did. This is an example of what I did. Look at this. I set the camera up, the heart of the wet season, and I photographed lightning at all hours of the night. I stay up sometimes to 4 or 5 in the morning if it's kicking off. And this is an example. This is like maybe 6 minutes of film compressed into 30 seconds. But this is what we see visually for at least 2 months of the year. Electrical phenomenon, which asserts that the Elfrasio was right. This is a really, really highly geomagnetic area. Still, there's no real sciences out there, Vinny. Everyone talks about ball lightning, okay?
Yeah.
It's such a generalism. I'm going to show you at the end of this talk perhaps 9 different forms of ball lightning. Anyway, we'll come back to that. However, what we're dealing with here is an exceptionally very, very magnetic valleys. So the theory is the magnetic clouds that get charged in the River Magdalena move east and they meet the mountain range and boom, manifest here at the top of this mountain. So then the house gets built and we're in there 13th February last year. In April last year. And here I am outside. I've got it there. This is where I work. I've got my camera set here. Can you see this?
Yeah.
And then the mountain's there. So I was set up just like this. And Vinny, look what I shot. I'm going to shut up and let you see this. Look what happened.
First sighting of light.
This is it. This is it. This is it. This is the first photograph that has been presented publicly of a light manifesting at the top of the La Peña de Huayca, UFO hotspot of Colombia, the center of indigenous moon worship. Look at that thing. So let me tell you now, I screamed at the top of my lungs and I got mad. It was just so dramatic. And it never came to me at first what this might be, which I'm going to come to soon. However, that's what I shot. Okay, so let me explain. I think it's only right here. I sometimes think that there's one of the biggest plights of skeptics in the community is for data. And I think wherever you can give it as scanty as it might be. This, which will make sense to photographers, was shot at f6. So the lens was fully opened up to let as much light in as possible because it was 11 at night. It was really dark. So when you open the barrel of a lens right up, you have to sacrifice on f-stops, on depth of field, or indeed on the exposure time. Sorry,
Yeah.
once you've opened up to 5.6, you've established your f-stops, and then what you have to do is tweak around the shutter speed. So if you can imagine, on this instance, the shutter is open for 30 seconds, Vinny. So if that light was moving, it would appear as a stripe. You know, if you can imagine these films you see with water flowing and it's a slow exposure.
Absolutely.
So this is a 30-second exposure. So what I did 1 minute after this is so good because how many people experience this kind of stuff but say they froze, camera didn't work, batteries were wrong. I was there and I went like that. I immediately turned it to half a second exposure, which means I did away with all other information in the background and in the photograph, apart from any light in the shot. And there we go. We drum roll. This is the shot that I took.
What is that?
Don't ask me that. Let me tell you. Let me tell you how it occurred.
Okay.
So on the left is the first one at 30 seconds. And if you can see in the middle shot there, this is the 5-second exposure at the tip of the
Yeah.
mountain. And it just, therefore it's going really quick. Perhaps what an eye would see if it blinked. And then when I zoomed in and we go right in without any editing at all, this is what manifests in the image. And what we'll do is spend a little bit of time on this. Why not? I'm going to ask you what you think that might be at the top of the Serra de Wyke at 11 o'clock at night when everyone should be in bed. What is that?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it looks like a being of some sort, almost like a mantis or something. It's got a head with like forky arms, kind of thing. You know, like hook arms. I don't know. I don't know if I'm supposed to answer in a certain way or not, but
Oh, there's no right and wrongs when it comes to this. And you're not dealing with a guy that gets caught up with beliefs. I curse them. But I'm asking you because what's really interesting is what you've done is, here we go. This is beautiful. You, let's be honest, are thoroughly ingrained in the UFO world. And
exactly.
your two first describers, when I asked you without any provocation what that is, was a mantis, God love you, a mantis or a being. When I showed this to my friend in the Tenho Indigenous community, he looked at it and immediately he said, my goodness, it's Chia. Look at her breasts. It's the moon
Ah,
goddess. And of course, this is, to me, this is wonderful because I'm getting first-hand experience on how what we already have, we greatly see.
yes,
Anyway,
exactly.
we're gonna, but this is all part of the project we're about to announce. That thing, I call it the approach. So anyway, I'm not going to tell you what I think that is. I'm going to hold that back because that would be just nah. But there's more coming. There's more to support this. So this is my second photograph. Occurred a minute after the first. Blew me away because I can show you what I thought. I thought it seems to have a point, a source here, and it seems to be coming out as would maybe water from, I don't know, water getting blown up or spray from a can. So I considered that there was maybe a source or a point of light. And that's as far as I went with interpreting it. Look what happened then in the weeks following it. Look on the mountain here, Vinny. This is the big raw shot. And I should say all of these files can be supplied in one of your Linktree things. So the raw images are there. So
Okay.
anyone can have a look at these. That there was taken at 2:31 in the morning. And in the photograph, you see a tiny prick of light on the hill. But when you zoom into it, again, you see this bizarre light phenomenon that matches the traditional 400 years reports of the dancing lights of Tabio. They were talked about as blue and red and green spheres. And I'm not going to say the word orb. I hate that word. Orb is another generalism that just gets you nowhere. They're seeing manifestations of a light phenomena, maybe more than one. And look what happens. Over the following weeks, I start to photograph all sorts of light phenomena. Look at this one.
Why?
What is
Yeah,
that?
see, that's it's not like a spherical. I hate to say it, orb, but it's it's yeah,
So, so what's really cool again with this one is if you turn that one round, it looks like a disc. Let's be honest, it's got a point on the top. If you can imagine
yeah,
it, it looks like your classic archetypal UFO shape. However, when I show that again to people from an older world, from the indigenous communities, the interpretation is this. In the 1700s, they called the light phenomenon ranchitos luminados, lit little houses. When you turn that around, it looks like a little Moisca house. And if I can dare bring in Mick West for a moment, he said something on, I keep a track on what the fellow does. I find it exceptionally informative and educational is the truth. And one of the things that I found from him saying once was that the shape of a UFO, or this shape is archetypal within indigenous communities, and it is. And they actually call the light on the mountain lit ranchitos, which is glowing little houses. Now,
right.
I don't know. This is maybe what has been seen for, I don't know, 400 years, and the name came from this. That this is interpreted in some way as a house. But I'm starting to see when I look at these last couple of pictures why so many people report seeing UFOs. Can't you see, Vinny? If
Yeah,
you're People are all around the mountain. Like, let's give you 2008 had 70 reports from the valley, independent. We're going to go into some of these, but there are sometimes in the 80s there was hundreds of reports, and it's this light phenomenon. So moving on, there's another absolute corker at a different part of the mountain, and this one, when you go into, it appears to be on top of the trees. A lot of them manifest where the rock faces are. This one appeared to be
Okay.
on the top of the trees. And again, anybody who's into such things as orbs and here's the thing, right? Let me tell you, the Las Puertas de los Dioses, the gateway of the gods. I should tell you this is because almost everybody that believes in the UFO phenomenon in Colombia believes that this isn't an intergalactic phenomenon, that this is an interdimensional phenomenon. This whole thing comes in that people are, that, you know, since Bochica came through from the place that time forgot, so too do these ovnis. And it's wild if you were to Google it, type in Wicca or Tabio interdimensional, and you'll see it's like what Rendlesham is to the UK, or what Roslyn is to America, or what Ariel is to South America, South Africa. So you've got this thing on, and people are seeing these lights and reporting them as interdimensional beings. Vinny, what is that?
Yeah.
Again, look at it on the left. It's so spooky. I remember I'm outside with my camera, and this is clicking off
How long are they there
regularly.
for, and do they move ever?
Yes, they move. They move generally along here, the Ruta de
Right.
los OVNIs. This is the UFO route. And this here, these are two lights. Now you can imagine, I posted them through UAP Colombia, big
Right.
UAP research group, which I'm involved in. They publish lots of art stuff. And of course, I said, hikers' torches. Big question mark. Hikers' torches. Think about it. Look where I'm photographing this on the mountain.
Would they be up
Could
there? I would be up there at that time of night.
it, guess what? I go hikers' torches and I get torn down. I thought I'd never had a friend left by even suggesting such a thing, because they're quite clearly, I mean, look at the shape of them. Look at them.
Yeah.
If you were into spiritualism or into any of these more esoteric fields of research, what you're looking at here is the evidence for some kind of spiritual contact. I mean, look at them. However, I suggested torches, and it just didn't go down good, Vinny. Here's the one that we took.
Just before you jump into that one, I just want to say a shout out to Laura Sosa for the $5 and the question. I've
Oh,
noted down your
great.
question, and we'll get to that. I just didn't want to break up the presentation too much, but we're gonna have a kind of almost a midway break for 2 minutes in a bit, and then we can ask
Mhm.
the question. But I just wanted to say thank you, Laura, because these get lost on my feed, so we will get to your question. Sorry, Ash. Please carry on.
Yeah, so you know, we've got lots of people looking at these things now, sharing them around the internet, and there's just no space for the torch theory or anything else. But we're going to come back to all that, because, you know, after something's been reported for this 400 years, and it's so ingrained here within everybody you speak to. And here's the interesting thing: we asked the girl at the shop who lives across there with her family, and do they ever see the lights in Wicca? And her answer was this immediately: Santo
Whoa.
Thomas. To her, it's St. Thomas. And to her, it always has been St. Thomas. St. Thomas was related with the coming of rain, the changing of the seasons. So she genuinely, truly believes it's the soul of a deceased St. Thomas here to protect the valley. At the same time as Julio, the guy that does her gardening and stuff, he is quite convinced that this is Chia, the goddess of the moon. While Alfresio, the head of the geological department, is telling us it's climatological and geological. And then Sherman's telling you that it's none of the above. What is it that I'm photographing? We're going
We've
to move
got a
on.
question here. We've got a
Yeah,
quick
go.
question here saying, Vinny, has Ashley ever gone up there?
Ah, you're 4 slides ahead. We're coming there.
There we
But has
go. Let's
Ashley
do it.
ever gone up there? I lived there.
Right.
Go and let me show you what happens after this. Get another one. This is great. This looks like what does that look like? What does that look like to you?
The thing is, everything is different. All the ones you show me, they're all slightly different in shape and that. So that's what's
Uh-huh.
throwing me off a bit.
Uh-huh.
If it was geological phenomena, I'd expect it to resemble maybe the same shape in different sizes and things. But
Yeah.
the shapes are actually quite different. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I've like you said earlier, I'm coming from this UFO
Mhm.
subject, so everything comes straight to my mind of UFO related. So I'm kind of, biased to a certain degree.
While these images I'm showing you match descriptions traditional of the dancing lights of Waka,
Yeah,
the the thing we've got a problem here with the UFO theory is none of them are off the hill line. They're all within the
yeah,
bounds of the trees, and they're
true.
not so far below. Hence this underlying theory I've got, and I'm going to call it the hiker theory. However, I'm not going to disregard the phenomenon. Let me just move on. This was probably the most alluring shot I took, and this was recent. This was just a few months ago. That happened there at 1:25 in the morning, Vinny. Look at it.
Yeah, that looks to me a bit more like something I've seen before in, let's say, Norway.
Right.
Hestdalen.
It is really starting to resemble that. This is interesting because again, this is where most of the occurrences manifest, and this will show you what's up there soon. However, this is really interesting because there seems to be three light sources matching again traditional descriptions of the dancing lights. But people are reporting these as UFOs because we saw on UFOs Worldwide and on two or three of the other Instagram sites after we posted this was reshared as the evidence, at UFO Hotspot Colombia. However, I'm still not sold on that. But look at this. This is something I was absolutely over the moon with, and any photographer out there will know why. This was a half-second shot, and what we had a few people saying was that we were maybe catching stars sitting behind the mountains that were shining through the trees. Great idea. Do you know what I mean? The stars are sitting behind the mountain, so I'm photographing stars through the trees. Venus would be the only star that could perhaps shine through the trees. So what I did was I set out to do this, and I thought I'm going to set the camera up. This night we saw the phenomenon. This was going for about half an hour this night at the tip of the mountain there. So I set it up that I could get Venus in shot in frame as well. And
Right.
this is Venus in frame at the same time as the light is going off. And this is what's great about this whole thing. Look at this. This is recent. Look at that.
I'm getting a lot of questions saying, have you been up there at night to try and be in those spots
Uh-huh. So
as they happen?
that's a really interesting question. This here is where we come to Hestdalen, Vinny. Let me just quickly run through. Look at these
I
comparisons.
recognize the one on the right.
So you just had Erling Strang, was it, on
Yeah,
just two,
yeah.
3 shows ago?
Hmm.
Okay, so here's the date. This is now. So do you know that a lot of people have got relief because we're coming to this Hestdalen formula, but there's also a lot of people pulling their hair out just now who just have nothing to do with the Hestdalen phenomenon for lots of reasons. However, here's the thing. Visually, the phenomena are the same as what I am photographing on La Peña de White in Colombia and what has been put out by Project Hestdalen. I've just recently countered my own argument that this could be a torch phenomenon. I need you to see this. Look what we shot.
Yeah. Whoa. Wait, that's the same speed, like 5 seconds or half-second
You,
shot.
you've got it. 0.5 seconds. Look at it. This is our first off the mountain shot. And
Yeah,
this is
that's
when, so this is somewhere for us to go. This is something that people will relate to. I'm seeing all these lights, photographing lights. This was actually back at the start. I took this very soon into me photographing the first ones, Vinny. So here's me out there photographing lights on the mountain. I am absorbed. I've just built a house here. I'm living in it every night. I've got my 6 layers on. I put my hot water bottle down my front and I get out there and I'm seeing all these lights flashing and blinking at the top. And then this happens. Do you know how hard it was to not immediately convert to become? I was going to become like a Lazar disciple. Picture picture Elizondo in the bathroom and Monica Bell in the spare bathroom. I was like, I've seen this. I have now seen A red flashing light phenomenon take off from La Peña de Huayca. I lived with this for quite some time. And so in comes my friend Walter Payne. So I send it up to Walter in America, who's a remote technology visualization scientist. He looks at satellite and drone photographs for a living and makes some pretty big calls on those images. And he looked at this and he said he gave it to a guy that sits behind him. And he said, it's a drone.
Right.
I was quite annoyed, Vinny. I was like, how dare you take my UFO away from me, you like, really, come on, dude, can you not be better than that? So I started throwing the arguments in, like, right, so we got half a second, calculated it, must have covered maybe, I think we worked out about 40 meters, 50 meters in the air in a half second. We sent it to him and he worked out the speed and said it's not beyond the drone. And
Really?
because there was
Wow.
double pings of lights. However, he did say this. He said they've worked out that it was a really, really big non-consumer drone.
Okay.
So, UFO, mysterious light phenomenon, non-consumer drone. This is the best. I mean, I cannot tell you how happy I was. We got that front door key, Vinny, and the skies just started going alive, you know. So here for months I was on this, and I'm going to take us all back down to earth because look what was announced 2 weeks ago. The Colombian Air Force announced a development program with the American military for Archaeological, which is a large UAV, an unmanned drone. And you're not going to believe this. They tested it at the start of the year when I filmed those lights. They published this map on their Instagram post, which shows the savannah and it shows the red dots of the drone and it goes over the top of La Peña de Huayca.
Oh man.
I photographed an advanced unreleased drone being tested over the savannah just outside the city limits of Bogota, just away from El Dorado Airport. So once again, UFO research leads to some pretty brilliant capturing of advanced military tech, because that's what we think that is, Vinny.
Nice. That's why we need to have these things looked into the way you've done that. That's incredible.
Only because what it does is add to the mystery. So not
Yeah.
only do we have perhaps a mysterious light phenomenon, which is either geological or otherwise, but now in the valley, we've got military drones being flown about doing all
Right.
sorts. So the big question, what's up there? Yeah. So my friend Walter did this for me. Let me show you this. I sent him the light and he just did this really simple overlay to show me exactly where on the mountain that first sighting was made. And it's a site famously known as the Mirador, which represents the highest point in Cundinamarca. And at that site is a huge temple of the moon. That's the
What?
light. Look at that. The light occurs there. Now,
But
here's the
from
cool bit.
where?
No, right, let me show you. We are photographing it from distance. The light seems to occur here above these stones, these three stones. It seems to occur right there and also higher up here. So look, back to my original down to earth take on this. This is a really old path that terminates at the Mirador. This is hikers with torches falling, climbing, swinging, moving. I'm photographing them. Sometimes two
Right.
together, sometimes two. Then, wait for this. See when they released the notification for Archaeological, the drone program.
Right.
They also announced that the mountain had been closed for the last year from all access roads to the police because they were testing Archaeological on the range. And there was 2 robberies last year. The mountain's not been open for 11 months. Those were no hikers.
No. This is going up, down, and everywhere. Yeah. Wow. This needs further investigation, obviously.
Indeed, sir. So I get up there. Look at this. Where
Nice.
we see the light manifest, I find this. This is a 10-meter deep handmade shaft that's dug into the mountain here that leads into a tunnel. So here is where the story takes the next twist. Well, we have a thing in Colombia called huaqueros. Huaqueros are illegal treasure hunters. Huaqueros have a union of 15,000 men that are thoroughly wired into the narco traffickers here. While lots of people love Narcos on Netflix, trust me, it is shit. It represents a really terrible part of Colombia. And the Guaqueros are on the front end of that whole system. Let me explain. The temples I talk of, the Temple of the Moon, while we go out and get private permission, dig up treasures, figurines, these guys go out sometimes 1,000 strong. They kidnap the landowners, they tie them up for a week, they excavate and explode all of the indigenous burial sites and take away tonnages of gold every night of the week that's exported onto the black markets. Listen to this. For hundreds of years, guaqueros are led by indigenous shaman. Those shaman claim to see where treasure is buried by following the lights. Google this. The whole system for the guaqueros is we can go out at nights and we follow mysterious light phenomenon because that is where the indigenous royal graves are to be found, and they find hundreds of tons. So here's my thinking. If it is the case that because we're in the high Andes plain, we've got serious tectonic and geological movement here. I've had 2 trembles since I've been here in 5 years. If the Guaqueros, if there was a light phenomenon that occurs here in the Andes, and perhaps the indigenous cultures chose to bury their kings and their elites on these sites, that would explain why today Guaquero can say, there's lights glowing, dig there, and they find these treasures. However, here's the thing. What if the Guaqueros, through traditions and through ancestral knowledge, know in a field or on a hill where mud has been turned, where there's a depression, and they can look there and go, seeing the lights, dig over there. You know what I mean? The old lights.
Yeah.
You
I've
don't.
got a question here. Infinity Center raises a good point, saying if you got up there afterwards, what makes you think others can't have got up there, even if the mountain was closed? Could be
Oh no,
people's
100%. We know there's hikers up there traditionally that have come up and
right.
would if the mountain wasn't closed. Absolutely, there could be hikers up there. That this is the thing. However, the mountain's being closed. So what I got to suspecting was, what if we're seeing these Wakeros that are up there looking for the same temples that we're looking for? Well, I'm doing mine in an
Yeah.
archaeological context. They're looking to take the thing out. So everybody, what we've got are bizarre lights. We've got a whole valley of people spotting UFOs and reporting UFOs. We have the guaqueros that could be up in the mountain raiding it. It could be hikers, could be kids smoking joints and drinking beer. We don't know. However, so far as the scientists are concerned, the Andes lights is a phenomenon that Walter Gottfried Nosch, he was a German scientist who worked in Chile, and he identified a corona type light. He spotted balls of light 300 miles out to sea, and he termed it the Andes lights. Now, the Andes lights, he believed, occurred at an altitude of 10,000 feet, exactly where Waika is, on the Andean crest, in highly magnetic areas. And he said, where normal thunderstorms are not normal. So, have we pinpointed what we're seeing here? These Andean lights that are interpreted as spirits and gods for hundreds of years, and now as UFOs. This idea was supported by William Jackson Humphreys. He was an American physicist who presented the Brown Mountain light phenomenon in the American Appalachians as the Andean light phenomenon. However, he was shot down. We're going to go on to that. The Brown Mountain lights are very similar to the Hessdalen phenomenon, whereby they get reported as there are multiple connotations of light form. You'll see them coming from left to right at different altitudes, different heights. They appear within the ground at ground level and in the sky. However, 15 scientific studies on the Brown Mountain light phenomenon in the last 90 years have said no, these are terrestrial misinterpretations, hikers' lights. and all sorts. However, Daniel B. Canton, professor of physics and astronomy at the Appalachian University there in 2018, finally filmed the Brown Mountain phenomenon. Kind of gave it the academic rubber stamp. However, people choose their science today. You either choose to believe these things or not. However, it doesn't really matter, because what we're going to do with this, we're going to come to the project now. Let me just quit. Oh, we're going to come to the project. We're going to try and take all of these things that we've talked of, right? And right, bad science is starting with a conclusion and then looking for the evidence. Like, we can't say these are UFOs, let's find out what type they are. I think we have to start by saying these are most probably hikers or people with torches. What else could they be? Right?
Yep.
Yeah. And to do that, we need people infinitely wiser than me. So it came to me to put this project together. And there, I'm just going to stop and hand the thing back over to you for a minute and see what you've got to say.
Well, I brought us back on screen.
You can see me now. It's bigger, can you?
I can see you. Yeah, I know that you can't see all this because you've got your presentation up. But that first part was absolutely fascinating. I think a lot of people in the chat, from what I can see, were absolutely mesmerized by it as well. And that, at the end of that first part, now makes me think that this really, it needs more work. It needs looking into it from multiple perspectives as well, multiple outlooks.
Exactly.
So, I mean, let's jump straight back into it, shall we? Because
yes, indeed. 1 second, sir.
Okay.
Somebody keeps ringing through in this computer constant. Sorry if any did.
Don't worry, mate.
All right.
The trials and tribulations of live streaming.
No, we're good. There's this ringing that keeps coming through. My phone seems to be off, and I have no idea where it's coming from. No, it's weird. Anyway, it's maybe the lights.
Hey, is this a good point where you can show the mountain, because we can't quite see it behind
yeah,
you?
Look at that. And do you know something? I keep listening to myself going, Ash, would you just shut up?
No, it's good.
No, because I keep thinking I'm at a party or a wedding where you have to listen, but I'm not. It's my fucking show with you tonight, so I can keep speaking. Sorry, we get banned if I swear on YouTube. Can you see what's going on out here?
There she is.
Is it in contrast focus? Can you see the mountain?
I can see the mountain. Can everyone in the chat see the mountain?
Right, so this is where I am every night with my camera right here. And we have this full glass fascia, 10-meter glass wall in the front of the center. We have this big terrace out the front. And what it allows me to do, look, is just snap away all night. So when I'm sort of lurking, right, from about 6 o'clock, keeping my eye outside. And when I see it go, I press my red button here when it puts all the lights off in the front of the house. And then I turn on this IR security light that does this really wide pan of the mountain. So then I know I've got it in IR. I know I've got it on the 5D, on the 600mm lens. And I virtually just, what I do is I do back-to-back 30-second exposure, 30-second exposure. And I keep going and going until it goes off. So I get to see it in all of its permutations and all of its manifestations. And I'm not going to tell you what I'm convinced of yet. I'm not convinced of anything, but I know a few things that it can't be. However, it's I've never learned more about my craft, photography and filmmaking since interacting with this light. It's really, really difficult to take photographs at night, as you know, as we see with the state of ufology, if you like, where it's contaminated with just crud, you know.
Absolutely.
We have this. No, I'm going to tell you about that later. I'm back in front. Did you want me to show you this mountain anymore? Because we're about to see a lot more of it.
I'm ready for the next part of the presentation.
Yeah, I can see this. You sounded a bit sketchy all of a sudden.
No. I've just had to remove the presentation from the screen so you can get to the first or to the next slide off camera. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm on. I'm waiting.
Let's go. We're on.
Look at this. So here is a project called Phenomenology. It is a film project. We are going to film for 1 week in Colombia in February. And with that week filming, we're going to make a series, a one short film a week for 3 months. Phenomenology is carefully chosen as a title because I think a huge problem with the UFO community just now, dare I say it, and I'm so sorry to be opinionated on your community, but everyone's jumped in the back of that last movie, The Phenomenon.
Yeah.
So then what you've got is the Pentagon report coming out, giving 5 clear brackets. Let's be honest, starting with bags and balloons, getting to others. But now what everyone talks about is what is the phenomenon, as if everything that's seen in the sky is one thing. And that is dangerous. That is so limiting. It really is. So I think phenomenology, and it was chosen because of this. We're more interested in this film in capturing people's approaches, people's psychological perspective, someone's interpretation, what they saw. And, I think that is where phenomenology is going to take its stance. We're not trying to say these are UFOs and which kind and what is it. What we're going to do is take together a team of people, which I'm about to introduce you to, that are going to approach this phenomenon, not just my photographs, but some amazing modern UFO and UAP occurrences. For example, including 7 months ago, Maria Alvarez, a 30 years served audiophone specialist in the Colombian Navy, came forward on a film and said, I was standing at the base of the Cerro de Huayca 2 years ago in my farm, and she is on camera saying, we, 13 farmers, watched a tic-tac shaped UFO circle the mountain for 21 minutes.
A tic tac.
A tic-tac shaped UFO, approximately 30 meters, not giving off a luminescent light, but an inward light. This is Air Force. A tic-tac, 21 minutes. It's different from the Fravor. This is not Chad Underwood. This isn't a dietary thing. This is 21 minutes of a tic-tac phenomenon. So we're going to go out and we're going to go to her farm and we're going to stand there and we're going to look. We're going to spend some time, maybe even a night. We're going to interview her and we're going to ask her what she saw and we're going to try to figure out what she saw. Because it's one thing saying you saw something flash in the sky or you heard something go bump in the night, but at such a late stage of your career to come away with a wanger like a 21-minute tic-tac encounter, I think that's fascinating. I want to see
Yeah.
how her mind works. I want to see where that comes from and what she might have seen. However, this project, Vinny, I'm going to run through the people that are involved. There's this. We'll come back to the first layer disclosure team. Olive Rockner. Big shouts out to Olive. He's everybody's favorite UFO artist. His work with Dan at Signal is absolutely superior. Olive is involved in this project in lots of ways. For example, there's an Olive original in the middle of the screen showing the different UFO phenomenon around our sacred mountain with light. Olive's going to have a great graphical interest in this, and we're involved with lots of other sort of future projects with Olive. Artec's a big arts festival organizer in Colombia that are going to produce the show for us. They're going to be here all week, and they're going to take care of all the cameras, all of the equipment, all of the sound recording, all of the logging and stuff. Natalia Reyes Escobar is my partner and a filmmaker who's also going to be helping with the production, managing the Arctec side. Jono Adams is a hero. Jono is an ex-Royal British engineer. Jono's a skeptic. Jono is a drone pilot, a really good one too. And he's coming. And he's also going to be doing all the safety and security because he's like a tough military guy, hands-on hard guy.
Nice.
And then we've got UAP Colombia, who UAP Colombia has become over the last year quite a big UAP channel in the sense that it is a filter and a sort of a center point on Instagram. It has a website that started out doing they call them avistamientos, the sightings in Colombia. But I got involved in it there right at the start, and I actually contacted you through UAP Colombia and said, I'm UAP Colombia. And here's the truth, here's the thing. Just at the start of coronavirus, I got a double whammy, I got a double blighter, Vinny. I'm a type 1 diabetic, okay?
Yeah.
So all so managing and being a good balanced type 1 diabetic means that you have to tend to yourself medically. So on the day that the coronavirus happened, I got struck down, you know this, with a really bizarre and rare medical situation, a disease that needed really attended to really quickly. And I wasn't able to do it because I couldn't go to hospitals. All right. This is only 18 months ago. What ended up happening was, ended up eventually getting into hospital and getting part of an operation done. And it rendered me unable to speak for 9 months. This is my 13th week, Vinny, after 9 months, no speaking because of what I came through. So what I did was I started doing arts, UFO arts, and working with musicians through UAP Colombia and all anonymously. Because all my life I've done TV stuff, right? So if I do something
Yeah.
on TV, people watch it and go, I liked it or I didn't. Maybe not based on what I'm showing or talking about, based on whether they like me or not. That's terrible. So I started going through UAP Colombia, and what I was doing was working with great artists, Spava Barker over there in the UK, shout out Spava, Olive Brockner, guys from America, Justin, all these guys. I was doing mixes with music and audios and visuals, but I was doing it all anonymously. None of them knew who they were working with. It was UAP Colombia, and it was so nice. It still is, because none of them over here are going to know it's me. But it means I can work. I was able to work and make arts and be told, "We like that," or "That's a load of rubbish," without it being me. And I've loved it so much. And UAP Colombia is now this big thing where it's greatly made up of. If you look at the website UAP Colombia, I'm going to be honest, there's more probably skeptic content than there is in the believer content, because one thing we're not short of here is believers in the UFO phenomenon. And I kind of look at it like, if you in life have any belief in anything, everything else you encounter is going to be compared and considered against that fundamental. 1 second, Natty, could you stop that, please? Gracias. Sorry, we've just got cleaning going on in the background now.
No worries.
I know it's going on. So UAP Colombia is like a vessel that we do lots of arts through. So those are the 7 partner companies that are involved with the new film, right? So I introduce you to the team.
Let's do it.
Look. So Vinny is coming to Colombia.
I am coming to
Vin,
Colombia in about what, 6 weeks?
you're coming to Colombia in 6.5 weeks.
Yeah, can't wait.
We have got a team together. Look at this. What we've got is Vinny. So you, in my mind, at the moment, represent the UFO community at large. You are completely wired into all sections from Mick West to Lou Elizondo, the 2 bookends. That's what I call them, the bookends of the community. I think you are going to be absolutely brilliant here in the conditions that we're setting up for this filming. You're going to be working with John O'Adams, the ex-Royal Engineer. Natty, she's going to be the director and camera one. Walter Payne there is the remote viewing scientist who discovered the Chia figurine. He is going to take us to the top of Waika at night with a really advanced drone with an IR lens, and he's going to film an orthostatic map of the entire Ruta de los OVNIs. So we've got Natalia Castellanos. She's a local fixer and a field guide, and she helps us with the transport between the different locations and the different places where we're going to be going. Danny Stanich helps Natalia. She's a field producer. What we're going to be doing, Vinny, is calling out for 4 public participants. Now it's public on my website. We'll put the links at the end. But what we're looking for, we take people here and make these archaeological films every year, but now we want 4 people to come and join the spread that you see there to make up like a 12-man crew. We have a balance of skeptics and a balance of believers and a balance of those in the middle just now. But what we're looking for are maybe people with podcast channels who got a couple of dollars at the side that want to come and get a week in Colombia, staying, look at this, here, in a 100-year-old tradition Andean mansion. We've got this property, all right, and it is just absolutely awesome. Direct line of sight with La Peña de Huayca. Our bedrooms look at the mountain. It's a 7-bedroom mansion there. It's got like 4 public rooms. It's there located in the middle of the valley. We've got cleaners and cooks and drivers and all sorts of amazing Colombian cuisine laid on. But what we're going to do at this place is this. We're going to film a series of us establishing UAP controls. Our question principal is this Andean glow, drones flying low, or torches? And you're going to be going, where's the UFOs? Well, come on, if it's UFOs, then it's going to be none of these things. Here's the trouble. For like 70 years, people have failed to supply that sharp HD UFO photograph. So we're not going to be able to do it in a week in Colombia, let's be honest. But what we can do is set out to explore the phenomenon as it stands as a phenomenon. And what we'll do is we're going to explore, I'm going to show it to you in the next slide, but I've compiled 19 geological and climatological phenomena that might account for lights on a mountain. And we're going to have a geologist here who's going to look at all of our sighting material and photographs, and we've got some bizarre sightings and images and films from the public in advance of this. So we're going to look at the geological conditions and bring a geologist in. We're also going to have someone from the Colombian military here who's going to talk to us about anti-narco drones, drones that are sent out to shoot down the drones that are taking the drugs up from Mexico into North America, and also from the Colombian interior and dropping them into the Pacific. So we're going to have someone up who knows about military to talk to John, Noah, and Walter, and we're going to bring that into it and see what we can figure out, because what we have is a military base about 5 miles from here and a police base 5 miles from here, and El Dorado's 10 miles from here. I'm telling you, Vinny, when you look out at night, okay, it's like being in Bob Lazar's dream, right? It's like everything's just moving. And then what we're going to do, this is my favorite experiment. So ultimately, whether Dr. Elfrasio is right, or whether the ufologists are right, or whether the interdimensional folk are right, or whether the Moiska people who've been spiritual is right, or whether the lady at the shop who thinks it's the soul of St. Thomas is right, I'm going to take the stance in this project and investigation that I'm insisting their torches, right? And this is what we're going to do to try and put egg in my face. We're going to have Walter and you and I on the second night of the trip, and with 3 policemen, we're going to hike to the top of Waika and we're going to camp.
Wow.
What we're going to do is take a range of mag lights and different torches, and we're going to spend the night walking the paths. And back at HQ, Jono and the film team will film us. And
Right.
what we'll produce then is this control map where we know what motion the different torches make on the different paths. So all of the historic UAP sightings that have been made on the mountain, all future ones can be paired against a control map.
Amazing.
And I feel then what we're going to do is bring to the UFO community and the sort of phenomenology community at large is we're not going to use laser pointers, Vinny. I'm not 19
Right.
anymore. There's no laser pointers getting shown at drones in the sky here to make our film work. We are filming on the week, which is exactly the same week as last year when I saw the first lights that seemed to switch on at that time of the year, this February, second week of February. And that's traditionally when they're seen. So we're going to set out to set a control function against a 400-year-old reported light phenomenon. But I'm going to bring it to this before we conclude all this. This is important. Like all of these kind of stories, right? Are they built on sand or are they built on a kernel of truth? Well, while everything you will read on Google and on the internet and by big media channels, El Tiempo and El País, they'll all say that this was reported from 1608 in the parish records in Tabio. I've never seen that document, Vinny, and what I thought would be really cool is, and we petitioned to the local mayor to get a meeting with the local archivist, and I thought you and I could go down there and spend a day stumbling over in bad Spanish to try and locate the document from 1608 that refers to the dancing lights of La Peña de Huayca and the baptism by the colonists. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, to find some old documents like that. And yeah, that's the kind of stuff I'd want to watch myself, let alone be a part of it. So, man, I'm
Dude,
so up for that.
it would be the first kind, or the oldest, if we found that, it would be the oldest written reference to unexplained aerial phenomenon, which it rightfully is, isn't it? It's in
Yeah, of
there.
course. by definition,
from
yeah.
our perspective, there are lots and lots of others. And now here's another thing I should say, something else I'm bringing to the project. So I was teaching, I told you I taught filmmaking and photography, and there's things I know about filmmaking and photography that I think it's really important that people in the UFO community know too. And like, I'm not going to make friends with this, but I think it's important people see it because it challenges them as like, I am a pro at making tic tacs. How about that? Flick, call them flick tacs, because if you expose a Venus for 30 seconds and on the last second, if you go, it's got to be careful. You've got to weigh out the weight of the camera. You look at the film, there you've got your tic tac. That Venus is
Right.
just a little. So when I see and all these lots and lot everything, but most of the stuff I see, it just drives me crazy. So I'm going to do like one of the series. We're going to have Walter and I doing make your own tic tac films. You
That's
know?
awesome. Well, we've got to cover all the bases. I
Yeah,
missed a
totally.
comment earlier, but Signal said we've got to do these kind of things and look at the prosaic possible explanations, get them out of the way, and move on up. You know, that kind of thing. So this is
I hope that people see it's that, and it's not. And I mean, who would I be to come onto the prime channel in the UAPC and say, nah, it's all with shite, Vinny. It's all torches. Whether it is or not, I am far more investigative than that, and I'm at the front end of a community that believes this is UFOs and lights, and it's going on outside my house. I'd have to be a pretty grey and dull person to do nothing with this, right? So being a filmmaker, and here's I'm going to just show you there. I think I'm going to do this so the viewers can screenshot this. I wrote this for UAP Colombia's skeptics page. It is a collection of the 16 most probable chemical or plasma phenomenon that could be getting witnessed on the mountain, and
right.
astronomical. There's things in here we're going to explain. I'm going to help because I know about some of them, but we're going to have a friend here, Miguel from Bogota. He's a scientist who's going to talk about this. There are things called nanoparticle flares. There are nanoparticle nets. There's like 8 different types of ball lightning. There are the Andean lights. There's things called phosphine clouds that modern scientists suggest can actually create the visual sensation or the visual imprint of light in the head, yet nothing came through the eye. There could be all sorts of things going on here. So we're going to build all this into documentary, just as Dan said, rather than, let's be honest, right? I've been watching every UFO documentary that's ever been made because I don't want mine to be rubbish like most of them. And here's the thing, the reason they're rubbish, and I mean that, is because they're all trying to sell something. They're not leaving space for an audience to make up or conclude themselves. There's needless drama with overbearing music. I love my big drum and bass, Vinny. I'm like a kid. All my films have drum and bass, or Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones for going up a hill and drum and bass when I'm thinking in tin. But we want to have a series where people can look at it that are maybe not particularly into UFOs or even skeptics against UFOs. They've never considered it before. But the takeaway is going to be, I've just learned so much about chemistry and hills and rivers and indigenous cultures and the way clouds work and the way light interacts with water and the way moisture interacts with our eyes and how feelings interact with thoughts, and a real exploration into phenomenology as a
Yeah.
broader topic than just this. What's the phenomenon? That's so that we're set up. I'm cheaply hacking into the word phenon because it's the word just now, but it's cool because it's about the approach. And I will say this, like, I'm looking for, what I would really love is an absolute open, nothing to hide, hardcore tic tac UFO believer. Like, the better, the better, the better. I've got 2 Colombian people that are going to represent that. But and you know, while you're inclined to think about UFOs more than me, perhaps, as Nick
Yeah.
West said to you, remember that's his line. I remember is that I do love people that have commitments to these things, and I'd love anybody that's got hardcore beliefs that wants to come and share what they've got, interpreting what we're showing. And again, on the skeptic side, you know, it'd be great to have someone here who represented the skeptic community. And because
Absolutely.
I think believer and skeptic on both sides of the thing is maybe, they're the bits that I'm not so interested in, because again, it's kind of predictable maybe what a believer's chat is going to be, and it's very predictable what a skeptic's chat is going to be. So we're looking for color and everyone in the middle, and that's where I thought I mean, a year ago, I reached out to you saying, look, there's something in the offing here. Did I tell you who I was when I got in touch with you, or did I do it anonymous?
No, it took a while before I realized who you were. Yeah, you didn't make it clear straight away. You came through the UAP Colombia Instagram
Yeah,
page,
and it was
and I
great.
didn't find out who you were, because when I found out it was you, Ashley Cowie, and then I went and watched all your stuff, and I was like,
Aye.
I've seen this guy on Expedition Unknown, and even some of the Scottish Gold shows that
Oh,
you've
aye.
done. I'd seen some of those. I was like, no way, this is
Dude, I'm a
crazy.
treasure hunter. It sounds so cheap to say that, but I do. I make films about looking for lost Jacobite treasure chests in the Highlands,
Yeah,
about
yeah,
looking for El Dorado. That's the thing. And this is greatly the same thing. It's just satisfying that greedy, obsessive lust for knowing everything, right?
absolutely, man.
And if it's unknown, it has such an appeal to me. But I think what's going to come from this whole thing is different people, different aspects of the community, and where we are not going to try to do like another overview of what a tic tac is, or what we're going to just try to insert a bit of reason and a bit of critical thinking
Yeah.
into the whole phenomenon that we experience here in Colombia. And it just so happens that while we're doing that at night and learning how to use cameras, because we have got some absolutely awesome cameras. We've got just 3 super rigs for this. We've got thermal lenses for shooting IR at different light temperatures, so we can lift light temperatures. When you're not shooting light and you're shooting temperatures, you can then take these things to graphs and charts and gauge what the source of the light might be. So we've got all sorts of plans, Vinny, to take this to a sort of a new kind of place within the UFO field, UAP, I'd rather call it. However, there are lots of UFOs. For example, that red flashing light for 6 months was a UFO because it was certainly flying, it was certainly unidentified, it was an object. However, I'm not so quick to link the little green fellow thing with everything
Sure,
we've
of
seen in the
course.
sky
Yeah, I
flying
wouldn't go
around.
that far, but
Yeah. But
man,
it's kicks off here every night. I'm coming in with something else in my camera, and it's great. And I mean that most nights. There was a great. Hey, this is a this was a really big moment as well that happened this year. Knowing him in the Valley of the Lights and the Valley of the Dancing Lights, I was outside with Natalia one night that we saw the light flashing on top of the mountain, and it appeared to come down the hill really quickly. This is the thing that when I show, see, I haven't shown you my films that I've taken of the lights because I'm keeping them for my film. But Vinny, I'm going to be really honest. There is some banana. I filmed some banana stuff with the lights. Like, like I can't be showing everything just now. You know, a good poker player
yeah,
doesn't have all his cards on the table, but there's some things in there that are maybe not on the path, or they're like when you look and see where they are, they're in the middle of where the mountain is, and it sort of is a bit more challenging. But Phenomenology is the name of the project. I can't believe you're coming to Colombia. It's going to be such fun.
I'm so
You know,
excited.
yeah, and who are we going to get? I mean, who is going to? I know already. Like we did the archaeology one last year, and we announced it on a podcast. And, 2 years ago, and 12 people were lined up within 3 weeks. We've got 8 weeks to go. So maybe what I should do is actually tell people what to expect. Right? You
Sure.
go to
Let me just
his.
jump in. I've got a quick question here from our mutual friend, Mr. Strafe Wilson.
There we go.
He says, in the short term, have you thought about placing motion sensor hidden cameras on the mountain?
Yeah, and here's the thing: it's all budget, right?
Yeah.
And it's also the mountain is currently closed. Okay, the mountain's been closed for several reasons, but one of the things we are going to do when we do the project is for that week that we're going to go up there, we're going to go and put wilderness cameras up there, 1080p wilderness cameras that have got motion
Right.
sensors.
Excellent.
However, the the being up there is going to be interesting. I've got Walter's going to love this. Walter is a hunter. He's also a drone pilot, and Walter has a suit. It's a full camouflage suit, and it's got an, a system inside that dampens your personal magnetic field for when he's hunting, which means he's saying he can go out and like a turkey will just walk past him, won't even know he's there. Makes him invisible in the magnetic spectrum.
Right.
We're going to put Walter up a night and see how that interferes or otherwise with lights if they should occur. Because lots of people say it's a magnetic phenomenon. It's that this is all There's this ringing again. Vinny, I'm going to have to try to cut this off. 1 second.
No worries, man.
I just don't see where that's coming from. Anyway, so we're back on this screen. What I should maybe do is tell people what we're actually going to be offering here in Colombia this week in February.
Let's do it.
We're going to pick people up at the airport when they arrive. We are going to drive them north of Bogota into the country. They're going to get taken to a 100-year-old finca, a mansion. They're going to be given their own room. They're going to meet the team. They're going to be fed a range of classic Colombian cuisine all week. They're going to be looked after like kings. They are going to have late nights, maybe some early mornings. And what we're going to do is each morning, we're going to start with a modern UAP case. We're all going to go out in our Jeeps and we're going to go to the field and we're going to record us investigating the site, maybe interviewing a witness at the site. Then we're going to come back and we're going to set up a roundtable environment where the 12 of us will pass the wheel around the table and we'll describe our thoughts, interpretations on any photographs that we are shown or given. We've got lots lined up. So we'll have 12 people's takes on 12 modern UFO cases. And then as soon as the lights go down at 6 p.m. at night, the boys get the camera set up and we have just a troop of cameras and visual sensors and imagery equipment. But this is what's cool. We've got this 100-year finca, but we've also got our house, our one that Natty and I live in. So we're going to split the team some nights because that's what we're going to do. We're going to try, hopefully, bring to the community the first time a phenomenon has been photographed from 2 locations with an angle of about 4 degrees apart, photographing the same phenomenon from 2 cameras, one thermal, one normal. That would be the first time that's been presented, because every time something's been presented, your skeptics in the community, their prime argument is it's got to have been filmed on 2 sensors, camera sensor and radar. And that's what we're going to try and do. We're going to set up 2 viewing platforms from 2 properties. So you'll be getting shuttled back and forth, mixing it up with different people in the team. And we're going to do that for a week, learning how to use cameras, photographing the phenomenon at night. And I say photographing the phenomenon at night because I had 3 sightings in the first week in February. 3 sightings in that first week. And we will set up this experiment, the key experiment, which is to have us walking down the main paths with torches. Then we will know from all of the sightings I've already got, which are on the paths and which are, my goodness, look at that, it's 100 meters on a cliff face. Then we can look at those and say, well, what might those be? Is Alfresio right? Is a climatological, electrical phenomenon? We can start going through the lists of the different interpretations of it. And then we come all the way down to, let's talk about William Chavez. This is a UFO show. So let me tell you now, in 1968, a systems engineer called William Chavez went to the local Taboo police. He said, I was on the top of Waika last night and I saw a big blue orb. And it came down and it hit a tree. And I walked into that orb. And he said he got taken to another dimension. And he was given lots of messages. And he came back. He said, the tree was red. And he said, I was told that anybody who touches that tree will be healed herein. This is William Chavez. So everybody at the police station in Taboo was stunned until 8 o'clock the next morning. And that next day, 12 hikers and campers all came in and said, we walked into lights last night from all parts of the valley. There was 12 sightings of the same experience with those lights. How about that?
Yeah, that's strange.
It's bizarre. And of course, it's just this whole clash of modern cultural mythology and interpretation with what's perhaps some kind of bizarre light phenomenon that's maybe witnessed in Histalen or Brown Mountain. And it's, as I say, it's not, I don't care so much what we prove it to be, but we're going to go through just this whole suite of really nice, clean, formal, sometimes scientific approaches to try and establish what this definitely isn't. And hopefully we'll be left with a smaller map to investigate at the end. But most importantly, just having a great crack in Colombia for a week, Vinny. It's really good fun. Lots of
Hey,
good
I
stuff
can't
goes on.
wait. I mean,
Um,
I just want to be on top of that mountain. I want to look at the stars and the night sky, see the Milky Way.
yeah,
You know, all those things aside from the investigation that we're going to be doing in the series we're going to be filming is,
totally.
you know, I've never been to South America, so for me it's going to be eye-opening.
From
You
the
know,
second you got off the plane, it's everything sounds and smells different. And then when you get to where we are, we live in this nice big safe estate and it's got security and stuff. So you're going to be meeting our friends and the people who work with us and the people that love us and hate us that are all part of this thing. And there could be, a good old group of us moving around each day. So we're filming that story of what happens when you get a bunch of folk from America, England, Colombia, Ecuador, all in from different places, all with their different backgrounds, different points of view. Going back to that very first picture I showed you when you said this is either a being or a mantis, whereby Julio sees the goddess Waika. You're
yeah,
both looking at the same picture of the same thing, and that's what I want to trap as a filmmaker is phenomenology and how approaches to the whole thing can either contaminate or enlighten the whole community.
that's amazing. I'm just going to highlight this comment here. Andy from that UFO podcast. How's it going, Andy? He says, "I'll happily send Dan to Colombia. Can we do a GoFundMe? Let's get it
So no
going."
no 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 no. He thinks Andy's there going, haha, I read that out. Let's do it. Let's do that. If Dan
Yeah,
can come to Colombia, I'm listen. I'll be picking everybody personally up at the airport anyway. But I will go. I'll get Tiger's seat skins if Dan's coming. He'll get the red carpet treatment.
yeah,
Of course, that would be amazing. Because here's the thing: think about it. If Dan was to stream live on their platform, hey, it's Dan in Colombia every day for a week. You too. You could be streaming Disclosure Team from the top of the
I
mountain one
I
day.
intend to.
You're in your bed the next day with the mountain out. You've had breakfast in bed, big scramblers, and you could be doing some really cool stuff. And maybe you and Dan could do so. Go and do that. Do a crowdfundme. Get it out there before Christmas because we've got till February. And
Yeah,
here's the other thing I should say. I'm going to say this now because I know lots of folk are going to be thinking it is. All right, let me use Lou Elizondo as a good example. Poor old Lou, eh? He comes out and does what 77,000 hours of podcast for nothing, and then he goes and says I'm publishing a book, and everyone's like, you're not allowed to do that now. You're not allowed to make money with your. It's terrible. So for those who think I'm in this to make a fortune, if you go to historyfuzz.com phenomenology and press the register interested button for the costs, you will see that you get to spend a week in Colombia with one of the most popular and likable media faces in the world, Vinny, and myself, all in for less than a shitty tour with a bunch of strangers for a week in a bus. Actually, for less than your tour around Colombia with the rubbishy food. You get the whole phenomenology film experience you feature in series one. And we're only looking for, the four or six public participants, which will greatly fund the whole thing in the 2 or 3 months of editing and mastering afterwards for us to get this out as series one, because series two, we've got big plans for series two. And we'll talk about that, when we're on series one. But you're the
absolutely.
fellow for series one. I just can't believe I can't wait to get here. You're going to be like so out of your comfort zone. I can't wait to see you go through all the terrors that I went through.
Hey, I can't wait. I'm ready for it. Bring it on. I want it to break me.
Don't say that. No, Colombia has such stereotypes. I always say, people get a bit scared when they think about Colombia. I got terrified. I still am at times. However, this is the thing. If you believe everything about, if you think of Colombia as you lift from Narcos and Netflix,
Yeah.
you would then have to think everybody in Scotland is like the people in Train Spotting. And it's just not the case. It's not. The trouble in Colombia traditionally happens on the west coast, and we're in the east beside Bogota, so we are in the Valley of the Gods. It's a truly beautiful part of Colombia, and there's no poisonous animals. It's a nice,
Right.
that side of it's safe. But it's an adventure. We're going to be going up hills, and it's going to be great fun filming all these folk out of their comfort zones. That's what I love most about it, because it's not easy, some of the places we're going. And what you said about the astronomy, like to be on top of Wyke at night and to be looking down over so much going on, like imagine this, you're looking down and 5 miles to the south is El Dorado, Bogota Airport. So you're actually watching all these helicopters, military helicopters circling, and then you'll see 4 planes being put on a circular flight pattern. And then in the middle of it, you'll see a drone coming up from the military base, and then behind you, you'll see something from the police. The police will be putting their security lights on the other mountaintop. And what you do is get a real clear kind of understanding for how careful you've got to be before you go UFO. You've
Yeah.
just got a lot to go through before you get there. That's why I'm going to show a lot. Look, that's just chemical, thermal, and climatological possibilities for a light. Forget the rest. So that's what the show's going to do. It's going to just broaden it up and show how all sorts of people tackle it. And we've got folk here from not within the UFO community, like myself, for example, but we've also got a really interesting fellow from Bogota. His grandfather was a professor who wrote the first geography paper on the mountain itself. So we're going to have an idea of where the magnetic loads within the mountain are most prevalent. If we can relate that to the photographs of light phenomenon, we might find that, yep, this is really rare climatological phenomena called the Andes lights, first confirmed in 1933. Vinny, if you come to Colombia for a week and you leave, we present the first photographs of the Andean lights that are 100 years have been reported. We've succeeded huge. That's a great thing to do.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, like, I am coming out here from that UFO angle, but it doesn't mean it has to be that be all and end all for me. It's just being a part of something so important, and yeah, it's mind
You've never
boggling.
said no. You never said no when
Of
I put
course
it
not.
to you.
Of
No,
course
not for
not.
I said tonight, there's just no way. And she was like, why? And I'll be honest with you. I said, he's got a green screen there with some Star Wars thing behind him. He's not coming to a mountain in Colombia. That was what I thought the crack could be. And I phoned you up and you're like, aye, I'll be there. I thought I was going to have to hike through a rake of people before I'd find someone that clicked. But that's why I got to you right at the start before you were only a few thousand people in, maybe.
Yeah,
No, you were a bit more. I think you were 6,000 on Instagram when I started watching you. And it was right then when that whole world, remember everyone was on fire last year. Every morning was a new thing and the lead up to the Pentagon paper coming out.
yeah,
Do you remember that?
absolutely.
And everyone was crackling from it. And I watched all the different podcasters. Andy McGrillen, I think his podcast and your own are the two. I just listen to them both all the time. I listen to, you know what I do? I listen to all the podcast material and films I can listen to, but I also watch. Do you know who I check? I've got this dirty secret in the morning. I always go and have a look and see what Mick West's got to say. I do. I think it's so interesting to see what comes forward in the wave of UFOs and then what comes from him. Because what I find really funny and a little bit sad, heart goes out to him, shout outs to Mick West. He's kind of on his own, right? He's
Well,
got that. He's got the meta bunk thing there that works away and stuff. But it's we want that in the film. We want people from that whole meta bunk extreme all the way through to the believers extreme. But I think Dan there from that UFO podcast maybe represents that. You know, he's sort of the guy that's right into the exploring what this might all be thing. He's more into the sort of chewing around the scientific ideas, not so quick to jump into some of the more extreme ones. So
yeah,
while Andy was joking there, they'd be great, but also just people who have been locked up for 2 years, Vinny. Because you can get
absolutely.
here now, you get a corona test, and 2 days later you're on a plane.
Yeah,
And I was looking at flights to come and see my mum and dad in Scotland, and you can get to the UK for like twice the cost of a bus from Inverness to London. You know, it's not expensive to fly to Colombia just now. So, you know, we're going to put this week out there. We look forward to seeing people applying today, tonight, and over the next few weeks. And we'll speak to people and see, you know, what they've got to bring to the party. And we'll get a good team together and get underway there on the 9th to the 16th. I think it's great.
absolutely.
I just think it's so funny. What I want to do is leave you on your own quite a lot.
Yeah, please do. Just
I think it's
yeah, I
important
mean,
you get to experience Colombia not, well, in the UFO context, of course, you're going to meet, it's really, really ingrained in the culture. You're going to see that, this ovni thing. You're going to find that there's no many people are going to be listening to this being torches. There's not many folk are going to have this being climatological.
Right.
They're more interested in whether it was a tic tac or whether it was the Nazi bell. It really is just hardcore out here.
No, I want to be left, stick a camera on me, watch my reactions, see how I, in such a wild, out of my comfort zone environment, I want to throw myself into this project 110%.
Yeah, and you'll be there, you'll be working with everybody. We're all going to be at the same level. There's no leaders. We don't need team leaders. We're all going to be working through. It's kind of these set things. We're going to be working through our different experiments, trying to put these controls in place on the mountain. And if we can leave with having a map, an orthostatic map, what I mean by that is it's filmed with a big drone at night with the thermal camera, and then that video footage is turned into GPS data. It's turned into an orthostatic data map. And from that, you can make a three-dimensional visual of the mountain.
Yeah.
And that's accurate to Walter's got that to a centimeter on the ground, centimeter resolution. So if you're writing a letter on a rock, you're going to see it with this camera, and it's going to be at night. So that's a really interesting thing. That's why we've got all sorts of local bodies and local groups involved in this as well. There's all sorts of folk coming in because this is a really, really popular tourist destination, believe it or not. That's Tabio. Lots and lots of folk come here to see the UFO art, the UFO monuments, and well, we're creating this thing, especially with UAP Colombia being one of the bigger UFO sites. We're going to be publishing unseen maps of the mountain. We're going to be publishing unseen geological papers about the mountain. And we're going to be publishing all these photographs, and again, interviewing people, military eyewitnesses, and also just farmers who will quite happily tell you they've interacted with it's interdimensionals here, Vinny. That's what you're going to learn. And it's even more specific. I don't know if you've heard of this phenomenon, but the hardcore ufologists in the valley go so far as to say that the interdimensional portal at the top of Waika is controlled by, they call them Los Nórdicos. It's Nordics. These are 6 and 7 foot tall, blonde beings, they're called. So that's what we've got in Tabio. That's what people need to Google. It's the Nórdicos of Tabio. So it's exceptionally ingrained in this entire valley. But the big thing is if we can go and find that record from 1608, that would be great. That would be the first written record of a UAP, this mysterious light phenomenon. And I'm going to show video. I'm going to show videos of something we filmed last year, right in the middle, just when I'm going to do a trick. I think what we're going to do in the middle of the film is just when I've about convinced everyone it's torches, I'm going to show you this film I filmed last year, and the whole thing is going to go all change.
Yeah, but that's great. It already sounds like that, and it's going to be episodical. So, like you say, in this one episode, you might see us going into the archives to look for the 1608 record. The next episode, you might see me on my own at the top of a mountain waiting for some Nordics to turn up.
There you go. Having long drawn out conversations about Nordics.
So
but yeah,
it is going to be everything.
Isn't it interesting? The Nordic thing, I must point this out, is this Nordic sort of phenomenon that people are talking about is, maybe it's no coincidence that the Nordic is the exact opposite from the indigenous Colombian.
Yeah.
This is possibly the most opposite thing they can see, the Nordic thing. So it's really, really interesting. I don't know where the whole Nordic thing comes from, but we're going to introduce the team, to people who have got thoughts on that and why because it really is an archetype of ufology now, this Nordic thing. So we'll have an episode on that, the Nordics of Colombia, the old Vikings in Colombia, and we'll serialize it. I think it's really difficult for me as a filmmaker and an editor to film a week with 4 cameras and end up with 600 hours of footage and then sit down and go, right, I've got to make this interesting, colorful, original, non-repetitive, addictive, successful. And it's hard. So what I'm going to do is serialize it to give me the space to break it into short films, 12-minute short films. And this will allow us to explore things at much more depth instead of me having 50 minutes or an hour to make a movie or a documentary and it's all got to go in there.
Yeah.
This makes it, we can just go in and in and in. And it means I don't need to write a script. We just know each day we're going to a modern UAP sighting case location. And each night we're going to be switching cameras on and looking for this phenomenon that generally occurs most often at this time of the year. So it's quite a set week with lots and lots of fun, lots of barbecues and lots of good food in between.
Oh, I cannot wait for the food.
Oh no, dude, it's amazing. Big meat
That's,
eaters out here, right?
I'm down for that, man. Whew.
I can't
But yeah,
believe it's 7 weeks.
I know, man. I've popped the link in the chat a couple of times. I will, as soon as we're off here, I'll pop it in the description below. I didn't pop it in beforehand because I didn't want people to go and check it out before we announced it. So
Yeah. And History Fuzz, you'll see that all over my platforms next week. And please, we're not asking any big questions. We think we're asking you to give us 250 words to tell us why you would be great in the series. And it's as simple as that. And there's no right or wrong questions. What we just want to make sure, what I want to make sure is that I have a quick Skype with the people so that I know we don't have any crazies coming. Simple as that, Vinny. You know what it's like. You can have a band of 12. All you need is one, and that's who gets all the attention all week. So I've just got to make sure we've got some cool people that can live with each other for a week. I do like conflict though. It's going to be great. There's going to be some. I'm going to so make sure of it.
No, good. We need differences of opinion, different outlooks, different viewpoints, angles. It'd be good to have people from different countries. I know Dan has already registered to the website already. He put that
Has
very
he?
early on. Yeah.
Dan has. Is he? This is maybe turning real. I'll tell you now. We've got Olive. All right, you go back to Olive again. I spoke to Olive really short ago, and I was just talking to him about this whole thing and about Dan, and it's so funny to see that Dan's all over this. And I think if he sends us this email and I give him the quote, I'll tell him what the whole thing is going to cost. I bet he'll sign up in a heartbeat. As I say,
He's just said 250 words was tough. I tried my best though. So he's already done that part.
so he's in. That means he's applied. What he doesn't know is we just took $6,000 off his PayPal. Got you, Dan.
So yeah, anybody that's in the chat right now who hasn't
That'll be amazing.
already,
So look, it's
this is open to 4 spaces to the public. You can sign
4
up.
spaces.
I'll bring the website up again. Bear with me.
I'm gonna. But listen, this is a bigger sell now because let's be honest. If Dan's coming, we've got me, yourself, and Dan. Surely, what are you going to do? Say no, I'm just going to do that next year. That is a true once in a lifetimer. I think that would make the film great because you and Dan are quite different, you know, and you've both got your platforms there, so you could be doing a lot of broadcasting out here. So we'll see if Dan's coming.
I've just popped the link back in the live chat. I've got the website on the screen, so you know it shows you the crew, a little bit of the background on everything we've talked about in this chat, the location where we're going to be staying, what to bring, your fitness, your insurance. This bit here I'll just read out is, you know, you get to feature in series 1 of this production, the Phenomenology. You get full transportation, you get 6 nights luxury accommodation in this 100-year-old mansion, all your meals, 3 meals a day. You get to learn thermal nighttime photography and all sorts of stuff. You know, that is, and if you just register, there's a form you register with, and you can find out kind of the costs and stuff, but no one's making any money on this at all.
Well, the hope is that we make a series and that it's great, and then some super sponsor phones us up and we got a fortune. You know, that's the hope. Let's be honest.
Maybe for season 2. Season 2, they'll want it.
Well, exactly. But forevermore, what we will be doing is what we do every year is I do TV shows, as you know, with networks and stuff that pays the bills, and I write things. But this is once a year we make a film for the sake of making the film, and it gets so. As I say, we got those 12 people. they all chipped in to a really low cost, and it came to this great adventure, put out a great film, and a net win for everybody involved. And I think what's cool about this is there's a lot of folk out there that have lots and lots to say, but they just don't have a platform to do it on. So for anybody who's aspiring or thinks they've got a voice or wants more of a trumpet, it would just be the best place to be in this film for a week with us.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, where are we? We've gone over 2 hours. Do you have any more on the presentation or anything you want to discuss before we kind of end?
I've got nothing more.
I've got a
I've got
little.
nothing. Go on.
I was just gonna say I've got a little bit of music that I want to play, which is made by our mutual friend Strafe Wilson in honor of Alex Dietrich. So I'm going to play that.
So listen, when are you pressing play on that?
Whenever we're done, mate. We're not in a
Right,
rush.
so let me talk about Strafe. Let me tell you about Strafe, all right? Listen to this.
Yes.
All right, so was it 2 years ago? It must be a year and a half ago. I wrote an article. A paper was released by a team of scientists at Oxford. And the paper, you're not going to like this, it showed the probability of life from another planet being infinitesimally small based on their theory that the age of the universe wouldn't allow it. And I was quoting this paper and writing about it, and I showed their figures and numbers, and I said, life on Earth failed 40 times before it took off. So any advanced civilization must have come from deep, deep, deep prehistory, like 4-6 billion years ago. Therefore, too far away in the past for us to ever measure. So I get this email the next day, this article goes out. I never bother looking at the reviews or anything. I just let it go. Get an email from Strafe Wilson. He's like, here, about this article. He goes, can you jump on the call? And I'm like, well, who is this? So I thought, nah, do you know what? I'm going to go for this. I looked at I did a bit of stalking, saw he looked okay. He looked normal, whatever that is. Phoned him up. And I said, so, and he told me who he was, Strafe. I said, Strafe, I've just written like a blighting article. And he says, the community likes that stuff, Ash. I went, what? He goes, the community love a challenge. He goes, the point is, he goes, you came in and started talking about UFOs from the media. So the thing went viral on Twitter, whatever else. And you know something then, since that day, I know he did. And he said, you should really be thinking about doing more with this. And I had a talk with Strafe, and I thought to myself, do you know what I thought? I thought, it's been quite a while in my life that I've ever met someone so straight and honest and just downright decent. And I thought, that's funny. That's coming from the cranky UFO community, right? And it turns out he's introduced me to you, to so many other people. And he's a quiet man. You know, he gets really good. He gets Scottish aggressive. We're like the Incredible Hulk. And on Twitter, sometimes he's brutal. Doesn't matter. He's introduced me to a lot of people. And so I do believe, he's done a new song. What are you saying there? It was a song about Dietrich.
It's just like it's for Alex Dietrich. Obviously, he was involved with the Nimitz case. It's not a vocal song. It's just like an instrumental. But he's got Olaf Rockner to do a piece of artwork for the song. So what I'm going to be showing is a still piece of artwork with or only a couple of minutes of Strafe's song behind it.
Can you see me just now?
Yeah, of course I can.
How long have you been seen before?
How long have I seen you? The whole time.
So I thought we had my last slide on the screen there.
Yeah, I keep switching between things and that.
All right, that's cool. That's fine.
Because if you're talking and we're not talking about what's on screen, I'd rather people see more of you.
But I'd actually like to see you for a second now. I'm just looking at my.
So if you go to just a StreamYard now.
There we go. Look at it. Oh, you look good today. You're looking great.
And for everyone watching, Ash has not been seeing anything. No. Ash has not seen. He's been looking at his presentation the whole time. So that just shows how professional he is, because he's been killing it. Not even seeing
because me. I've not seen you. This is the first time since the start. All right. Wow. Look at you, the man in black.
Well, you know. Is it weird now?
No, you know. Yeah, it is. It's gone off. Look how self-conscious I've become now. I can see myself on the screen. It's pathetic, man. That's a good thing. How are you? Hey, listen, let me ask you a few questions. Have you done a film thing before? Have you done sort of, here's a mic and shut up and do that, don't do that?
Yeah, I did. I did TV work when I was like 12 years old and stuff.
What was
So
that? The Milky Bar Kid?
there's like
No, anyway.
Channel 4 schools programs and stuff. So
Was
I used
it?
to go
Did
to
you
I
now?
used to go to drama school and stuff when I was 12. So it's
Oh,
a long
wow.
time ago, obviously, but
Yeah, yeah.
I'm on camera here doing YouTube and Instagram for the last year. Well,
Yeah. The nice thing I
6
should
months
say to
here, but
anybody that's sorry I cut over you there. Carry on.
no, I was just saying it's only been 6 months here, but I did Instagram lives for sort of almost 9, 10 months. So I kind of
Magic.
am used to being in front of the camera, but I don't
Yeah.
care.
I
It is
should
what
say
it
to
is.
anybody that's writing in or interested in coming and joining us is we never give out a script and we never ask people to say things. What we might do is if you say just saw a bloody great tic tac and somebody clunks a coffee when you said tac, I'll say right, everyone shut up. Just say saw a bloody great tic tac again, so we get it clean. That's as much as you would ever be asked to do. Never say this, don't say that. We're not into it's not like reality TV and all pre-planned. We're trying to film the story of what we all get up to in
Yeah,
our
totally.
approach to the phenomenon. So that's a good thing. There's no pressure for you to ever have been on TV before. Walter comes. This is Walter Payne's fourth time to Colombia. It's his fourth film, fourth expedition. He's found this massive three-tiered platform on the mountain. I'm going to take you and show it to you. He found this first year he was here, an enormous indigenous platformer. Then he found the Chia figurine. So he's coming back this year. He's wanted to take his metal detector, but I'm telling him no. This is UAP. So he's taking his drone, but it's a land of discovery, and these guys are really cool. Walter's an American guy, Jono's American living in Canada. You're English, I'm Scots. We've got Canadians, so it'll be good fun. Really, really good fun week. That's what it is.
Yeah, cannot wait. Cannot wait.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, Ash, I'm going to play this track now
Yeah,
from
go for it.
Strafe. We'll have another quick chat before we
Uh-huh.
go afterwards. But let's get this up. Let me just
So
share
hang
my.
on, let me ask you.
Go
So
for
are
it.
you? Can I stand up for like the next 3 minutes? Or are you going to see me standing up?
Do you want me to take you off the camera, or do you want?
If
You
I
can do
don't
whatever you
go to
want.
if I don't go to the bathroom right now, there is no
Oh,
Colombia
mate,
trip.
go
No
to the
Colombia
bathroom.
trip. Look,
Go. You've
got my
gone. You've
legs
gone.
crossed. Right, thanks, fella. Lordy.
Oh, this is brilliant. Strafe, I am going to play your tune right now. Let me just share my screen with audio. I'm going to mute Ash.
It's terrible. It's me interview.
Here we go. Right. I'm going to play this. I want everyone to tell me if you can hear it as well. Here we go. Can you hear that? Can everyone hear that? All right. Strafe Wilson, that was amazing. So I just noticed Strafe. Look here, guys. Any vocalist out there, hit up Strafe, or if you can't get hold of Strafe, hit me up. I can put you in touch with Strafe. That was awesome. Shout out Erlof Rockner, as always. Fantastic artwork. So yeah, what do you reckon, Ash? You there? You're muted, by the way.
Yeah.
Got you. Got you.
Let me tell you something else. I need, because nobody else would ever give him thanks for this, right? In another part of my life, our family run one of the most awarded sustainable seafood restaurants in Scotland for its ethical food sourcing policies and for its environmental approach to the catching of and the creating of seafood. Now, our restaurant's 20 years old in the north of Scotland there, and we are looking at doing a really exciting new sustainable arts project fusing Norse cultures from Shetland to Iceland to Scotland and doing this next year. Do you know do you know who's facilitating that and putting it together and pulling me with arts councils, grant bodies, people that could help us do this project? Strafe Wilson.
Wow.
Just a call and saying, look, dude, we've got a big old 300-year-old building. We're looking at doing all sorts of new stuff with it. We've got this old 17th century ice house and strafes all over it, setting it up. Phone him, do that, don't do that, and call me in a week. And it's just like, it's funny, isn't it? He's really effective as a human being.
He is, and he has been for a long time since I've been in this game. Not the
Yeah.
YouTube game, but the UAP game. Strafes behind the scenes. We've had phone calls, video calls. I know he did a lot of stuff for Luis Jimenez on the Big Phone Home.
Oh, did
The
he?
first time round. He's just one of those men of mystery behind the scenes who just makes things happen.
Well, that's it. That's it. That's it. So in life, you're getting on, I'm getting on. You get to realize that so many people talk a good game, but there's a few around you that are action men. They get stuff
Yeah,
done. As in, when you
100%.
get to the end of a good call, it's like, oh, that was a great call. Nah, Strafe's the one, right? 1, 2, 3, boom, 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 and things happen. I did all this with you, and he introduced me to you. I said to him a year ago, I'm photographing what amounts to a bag of mental on a mountain in Colombia. What do you think I should do with this? It's absolutely relating to UFO phenomenology. And he didn't have any second questions. He said, do you know who it was? He said, you've got a guy in America. I can't remember who it was, but he goes, as far as the future's concerned, he's not got many followers just now, but you want to do your first interview with Vinny. He'll give you the
Wow.
space. He said he'll give you the space for you to be yourself without trying to shoehorn you into one of our camps. So he's fully aware of the way it all works in your world. This is all new to me. The world of saying the world of UFOs is new to me. I've featured in shows that have, heavily leaned on the alien, the UFO phenomenon, but it's seldom I've talked about it myself. I talk about the history and the archaeology aspects and things that I'm asked about, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I got to give another shout out to Strafe Wilson. Like I said, he's done so much behind the scenes. He never asks for anything in return. And so I'm more than happy to share things like that. Awesome tune. So Strafe, thank you so much, my friend.
Yeah, I've said to him, I've been honest with him and told him if we sell 6 participants for this first thing and we break even, that's our break even is 4 participants. Our 6 participants mean I can actually say to Natty, my wife, going to go in the series for me over the next 12 months, please. What we want to do is, I said ideally I'd love to take Strafe over here and Olive for season 2 in April or May, and we'll be talking about all that later. But I said to Natty, I don't know how good it is having 2 angry Scots in the hills talking to people in Colombia about UFOs.
Man, it'll get spicy.
Yeah, indeed. I noticed that. It's an archetype that Scottish people are angry, and dear, as I get older, it's not much of an archetype. It's a total truism. It's terrible how short my wick's getting these days, Vinny. Anyway, we digress. I think we've had a great chat. How long have we been on for? That must be an epic
2 hours and 20 minutes.
2 hours and 20 minutes.
It's been awesome, man. It's flown by, actually. I've done a few long ones, and this has just flown by. So it just shows how invested in it. I am, and obviously you are
Yeah,
as well. So, and
yeah,
everyone
I
in the
think
live
so.
chat, you're still here, so thank you guys as well.
Have you got a few folk in the live chat that have stood by? Have you?
Yeah, man, they've been commenting and chatting the whole time. Like, so these guys,
So I've got an
legends.
idea for you then. If people have enjoyed it, you get good feedback. Why don't we do this? Why don't we do another one at the end of January, a week before you come, and we can announce who's coming?
Yes,
Let's do that. Introduce the
perfect.
real team, the participants, the
Wait,
public
we'll have to
people.
get them on as well, and we'll do a little panel, see how they feel.
So, right, I'll tell you what. You select a date. Let me know. What I'll do is I'll get Jono and Walter. I'll get the two American military
Perfect.
boys on, so
Yes.
people can ask them questions about what they do, what they've done. But what's good about them is both of them are really experienced drone pilots. So when we've got such a crossover between the military and ufology, to have two people that have flown drones, and Jono too, after the military, after the engineers, he was working on vast inland gas pipelines in British Columbia with drones. So he knows what they look like from distance. So it's great to have those guys in it, because I think ufology responds well to the military eyewitness, don't they?
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah,
There
yeah.
seems
I
to
do.
be the idea that it's a better eye than that of, say, a painter.
It does, unfortunately. I think it's that trained military kind of history and the way that they've been brought through the ranks to look at things, the way they perceive things. It doesn't mean they're any better than your average Joe, your member of the public, but
Mhm.
it does seem when it's a story or just something like that, it just seems to give it that slight extra bit of credibility to a lot of people.
Yeah, I think it's important you said they're not better. They are trained to interpret things that they see, but you can't say they're better eyewitnesses, because if that was the case, then we wouldn't have so many military airshow accidents, for example.
True. Yeah.
Pilots make a lot of accidents each year, so I think to worship the military eyewitnesses is as whole, as sort of far from the truth, if you like, as it is to disregard it as being just
Yeah.
normal. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So we've got a couple of those guys in, and it's always good fun too, right? So I've filmed lots of documentaries with military folk, right? And I'm quite hard when it comes to work. Like, I'm there on the front line, and I'm there when they go to bed. I'm still up charging my batteries, and they know it. But because I'm the civvy, and because I've never been the guy with guns, they pull the piss out of me like you've never seen in your life. Honestly, it's ridiculous. It's like I feel like the civvy in the squaddy camp, but that'll make good TV too. Good crack.
Exactly.
You push back on them,
Oh, hell yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's great.
I always say to them, "Is that okay? I can't fly an F-15, but I could pay my own gas bill when I was 36."
Oh man, that's the thing as well.
Different worlds.
There is, and I like that. That's why if we're out in this beautiful location, we've got people
Mhm.
from different backgrounds and that the banter, like just
Mhm.
the daily living of what we're doing will come across, or I hope it comes across perfectly
Yeah,
represented in this series. It's going to be serious. The work we're going to be doing is serious, but I want it to show everything,
yeah.
every
We've
little
got
every little surprise, every little
aye.
conversation, and yeah,
What we
make it
always find are
real.
the best bits are, when we start in I can't even describe what a breakfast is like here, right? Like, you get up with these birds, you smell this thing in the air, and you're not sure what kind of fruit it is, and you come down to the table and you have this. It's almost like a classic English spread. It very much is, with silver plates and all the rest of it. But they have fruits like you've never dreamed of, and there's tastes and smells in the way they do eggs that a Scottish or an Englishman would never. We like an egg on two bits of toast. A good chunk
Yeah,
of good chunk of butter.
yeah.
They have things in eggs that would offend you to look at them, and you'll be like, no way, just not doing it. And you taste these things, and it's great. And you're abroad, you're in a different place. You're not just a flight away from home. You're in the Andes. You're going to find it hard to breathe for the first day. We're at 9,000. No, where are we at? Where are we? Yeah, 2,800 feet. So
Feet
it's
or
hard.
meters? I think it says meters
Meters,
on the website.
meters.
Yeah.
Sorry, 2,800 meters. So what that means is, let's okay, relative terms. You've got just less than half normal lung capacity. So how that works into how you feel is this: if you deoxygenate the body, you have less energy. So walking to the car from the front door, you stop sometimes and go, oh, I went a bit fast. So then to avoid feeling lightheaded, you go slow and you realize that it takes so long to do everything. But that's why
Right.
it's nice. That's why we say to people, you don't need to be an athlete. You just need to be of relative fitness. As I said, I'm a type 1 diabetic. I'm fine.
Cool.
We're not going to be asking people to walk 6 kilometers up a hill in the Andes. We're going to be safe here. We're going to sites that are around the mountain where we can park nearby. But there will be some extreme hiking and some dangerous bits that some people won't want to go to. But
Right.
there's places on the mountain I have to take people to. We found
Of course.
archaeology at some of the places where the lights seem to appear. We need to go along and film that and bring it in or disregard it. So, relative fitness, but everybody finds it tough with the Andean altitude. And it's right in the middle of the summer, I should say, so it'll be scorching hot through the day. You're going to get brown, but it's going to be just freezing at night. Like you
Okay.
get angry sometimes. So you get a wee a hot water bottle down the front, and you look after the Jaffas, and the rest of the body's fine.
That'd be cool, man. I'm ready.
You will
Absolutely.
be. Yeah, it'll be great. Get the old disclosure team. You have to bring out the logoed up stuff. However, we're going to have to figure out what to do. Can you imagine? What we can't have, what I can't have, is filming at breakfast with Dan with that UFO podcast hat on, and then it's disclosure team, and then whatever Dan's new shout out to Dan's new podcast, whatever it's going to be called. It can't all be that, but no, there'll be certainly be at a table for the two
Dude,
of
we
you.
have to get some phenomenology merch.
We do, and that'll come. That'll come. But you know yourself, like we're not going to say too much about it, but you and I have both discussed that, that we've got some options as to where we could position this film. So
Yeah.
we might not be filming with any logos at all, depending if
Yeah.
we get a sort of sale or something in place before we film, right?
We'll see.
But
There's
I
lots of
think what's
options.
really nice to hear that Dan's filled in your thing, the form there, is that because, I said to you and I said to Strafe, I'm doing 2 interviews, this one and one with that UFO podcast, because I think so much of Andy and Dan. And I won't be going in the circuit then doing a big sales thing. Just wanted to talk to you two guys. I have considered doing one in America, though. I thought, how am I going to get this out to the American folk at large? So what we need to do is find me a podcast in America. If there's anyone listening just now that wants me to come on and rant for 2 hours of your day about Colombia, I'd be happy to do it. But maybe that would be it then, I don't want
Hey,
to be...
no, it's all up to you, man. But yeah, I think it's
the
good. Good
Yeah,
thinking.
I'm over the moon. I think it's going to be great. I'm delighted we've brought it out to your
Yes.
greater community, and that it's now going to take on it'll start to form. It's always nerve-wracking for me because I've got to pay for everything first, and then you press the button and do this, and you're in this place where you have to book all of the people and the accommodation and the food and the flights and everything, and then you hope there's 6 people out there that are all going to go, hang on a minute, he's quite clearly not making a fortune if there's 6 of us, and you hope that it works, and it has every year so far. This is our 4th one, our 4th independent film, or
Yeah.
series this will be.
Yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely.
let's do it again the end of January, just before you come, and we can introduce the new people, and I'll get Walter and Jono to join that chat then, so people can come firing in and maybe meet them before they come.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And Dan's just said here he'll hit Ryan Sprague up for you, so maybe get on Somewhere in the Skies, hit that American audience.
That's a good idea. Now, Ryan's show, I did listen to at the start for quite some time. I still do. However, have you noticed that you must listen to lots, right? Are you a
Oh
podcast
yeah.
guy?
Oh yeah.
Like constantly or not?
Yeah.
Like I'm in this
Every
world,
day.
right? Yeah.
Every
So
single
I
day.
write. I write a news article in the morning and a few long form research articles through the week. But I'm in this lovely world where I get to listen to thousands of hours a month of podcasts from the most widest range of the most fab people, and I just love it. And but as I say, there's only 2 or 3 that I really think I would go on for this to try and find people, and it's yourself and that UFO podcast, and big supporters of the both. Do you know why? It's because I know how hard it is to be consistently creative, to do a year of broadcasts every week and sometimes twice a week takes a lot of mind and time to
It does.
keep coming up with something original. Remember, I said to you 5 months ago, I phoned you and said, right, you've done Lou Elizondo, you've spoken to Lou, You're doing all these people. What's going to happen when you run out of the UFO celebs? And you're like, I actually don't know. And you're honest with it, but you made
Yeah.
it work. You still every week it's somebody new. And how many times do you go on to? You know, there are 44 million available podcasts to download at the moment at over 8 million podcast channels, which means the average is about 16 podcasts, I believe. Does it work out? Maybe did my maths wrong. But it means that 98% or 95% of anyone who's ever started a podcast failed after 4, 6, or 8 episodes.
Wow. Well, that
Yeah.
says something. I mean, I'm about to hit 60, I think, in 6
Are
months.
you?
So
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Can I ask you what your favorite one is? What do you look forward to listening to every week?
Oh, well, it's definitely that UFO podcast. I mean, I'm not just
Uh,
saying that. I was listening to Andy from the start when he first started. I've always
yeah.
listened to Somewhere in the Skies. I've always been a big fan of Ryan Sprague. Um, there's too many. I have like all my subscriptions on YouTube, and
Mm,
I have my Disclosure Team channel. Now, the ones I subscribe to with that are the ones that I will always listen to. So I've got
yeah.
old ones, I've got new ones like Josh and Artemis show. I've got
Oh, yeah. Shout out
uh,
Josh and Artemis.
yeah, that UFO podcast. All my friends that have got channels, I'll listen to them, but then I still listen to non-UFO related stuff. All your
Oh, yeah, for
ancient
sure.
history, archaeology, a lot of ancient Egypt, a lot of Bigfoot stuff as well, which I kind of put on the
Yeah, dude,
wayside a
that's
couple of
so
years ago.
funny. That's so funny. I just, right. So, by taking away from the ufology and the UAP thing, one of my favorite podcasts out there, a couple of Irish guys, it's the Monster Fuzz podcast.
I've listened to some of their stuff. Yeah.
Just absolute cracking. And it's cryptid nonsense, good old
Yeah.
shit talking. You could be in a boozer having a chat. And I love it. And it reminds me of home, hearing those Celtic ways of thinking. So I do too. Of course, I'm not believing there's dinosaurs in the Congo, but I love listening to
Oh,
people
I
who
love
do,
it.
and the
Yeah.
people who are wholly into something. I'll listen to long form podcasts about people who are quite clearly suffering not just delusions, but deep state mental health illnesses. And I'll keep going. And I learned so much about yourself and how you believe and how you believed in the past and what belief's all about. And I think the more people you listen to in life, the better. It's all about,
Absolutely.
it all comes from other people.
Yeah, we've just got another message from Dan saying Ryan said he'd love to talk to Ashley. Can you sort our details exchange between them,
So
please? So there we go.
that's
Dan's
great.
on it, man.
Right. So look, if is Ryan listening to this?
I don't think he is, but
Right.
I think Dan. It sounds like Dan's messaging him back and
Right.
forth as we speak.
I'm gonna fess up now, okay? So a year ago, 3 days after I photographed the first light here, I went and just Googled UFOs, podcasts, and everything. It was not my world. Brushed against it in the past, but it's not the thing I live in. So I emailed Ryan Sprague and said, Ryan, there's a pilot over here who's just come out and said, you seen a tic tac going round a mountain, and I've got a bunch of bizarre lights. And he says, I'd love to speak to her. And I was kind of a little bit like, hang on a minute, I thought you'd be loving to speak to me. And then here you go. And then I realized what's going on here is this is when I was hiding behind UAP Colombia. And I had contacted him through UAP Colombia. So to him, I'm just another cranky Instagram site with a bunch of balloon UAPs, And he said, if you can set it up with me to speak to your eyewitness, I'd like to do it. And I just thought, there is no way I am giving Ryan Sprague her or any other UFO witness in Colombia. So now Ryan shouts out to you, buddy, you were never going to get it from the start. But I really, really liked your show, dude, and I still do. I
That's
just put it
amazing.
I put it on the table, and when he wanted it without me, I just pulled it straight back off.
I get it. I get it. That's cool. But
Totally.
no, we love Ryan though. Ryan is absolutely awesome. So hopefully you and Ryan will get to talk about this project.
I would do it with Ryan because he's so casual. I think he's that casual way. Do you know who else I've got a lot of time for is do you know it's my favorite one of my favorite American podcasts? You know UFO Garage. Do you know the boys in the
Yeah, I've
garage?
spoken to them. They've been on my channel.
Have they?
Yeah.
That's an hour well spent each week.
It's a
I
lot of good
like it.
fun, man. They're great guys. They got such good banter, and they are lighthearted, and they still cover serious topics, have good interviews, and that's why I had them on, because I just
Yeah,
wanted to, that's what I try and do. I try and bring a bit of versatility to this channel, and I
yeah,
have some serious guests and serious conversations, but sometimes I want fun and
yeah,
lightheartedness and that. So yeah, I love
yeah.
Ben and Joe.
It
Awesome.
gets very intense, this UFO community. Like,
Yeah.
if you look at the Twitter sphere some days, there's just this real acidic anger that exists between certain skeptics and certain people in the field, and there's no space for being human there. It's just quite nasty stuff, and you feel quite sorry for a lot of people. There's a lot of
Yeah, you do.
yellow folk out there talking a lot about a lot of people, nothing to do with UFOs and UAP, just about people. That
Yeah.
saddens me. I steer clear from Twitter generally.
I like it.
It
I like
was
to keep up. I manage to steer clear of the negativity and still
aye,
utilize the platform. I've learned how to do it, so
yeah.
I'm happy with where it's at right now, to be honest. So yeah.
Yeah, I learned a few. I had Twitter 4 or 5 years ago, and I woke up one day and I realized that I had become an absolute master of being able to antagonize those on my left and those on my right equally in one sentence. And I'd be looking at them both reacting to these crudely prepared traps, and I thought, that's no way for me to use my mind or my time or my life. And I thought to myself, so I've written 1,400 news articles in 5 years.
Wow.
Three books. That represents over 2 million published words. Three books and endless hours of documentary. And I always thought to myself, now I've got some prick telling me to use 140 characters to tell you what I think. I'm out, and I just closed my account.
Yeah, I get that. I can understand that completely.
Mhm.
Oh man. Well, listen, Ash, we've hit over 2.5 hours. I could chat
That's
to you
enough.
for 2.5 more hours, to be honest.
Yeah,
But
you are going to be for a lot more than that.
well,
Right
listen,
beside me.
I want to thank you so much for not just coming on here tonight, but for involving me in the project, for having
Yeah.
these conversations with me for the past year, for becoming such a good friend as well.
Yeah,
I
indeed.
can't wait till we get to actually meet. And yeah, it's
Yeah,
going to
I
be
value old friends that have been in your life for 20 years as much as you do the ones that have been in your life and will be for the next 20 years. So I too value this one. And I think it's great that from a friend, Strafe, putting us in touch with each other near a year ago, that we're now flying you to Colombia and we're coming out here to make a film together and have a busman's holiday, if you like.
absolutely, man. So yeah, thank you again. And to everyone that's been here tonight in the chat, in and out, here
Yeah,
the whole
thank you
time.
everybody for holding
You
on for
guys
so
are
long.
awesome. This is my last live interview before Christmas. I have a little surprise video, let's say, coming out on Christmas Eve. So look out for that. That's going to be a conversation that I recorded a few days ago with some friends. That will premiere on Christmas Eve. So look out for that. But
Is
yeah,
that a
thank you
drop?
guys.
Is that a Corbell drop?
Oh mate, it isn't anything drop. It's just a conversation between friends. I won't give out the list of friends, but it is just a Christmas gathering of friends. If anybody watches it, they watch it. If they don't, they don't. It's nothing serious. It's just,
Yeah.
just a
Do you know?
little
Can I,
get
before we
together.
go, can I just say a quick thank you? There's a block of
Yeah.
people. It's not a list. There's so for all of the people from Artemis and Josh, Graham Rendell, Svav Barker, and this endless list of people who know me as UAP Colombia and have done for the last year. Is like, hi, I'm Ash, and it's been great working with you all, albeit it's been anonymous. But truly, I know lots and lots of people anonymously in the world. As I say, it's not been through myself, UAP Colombia. But what's going to be nice now is that with those people, my relationships can become much more open,
Yeah.
And remember, it's not because I was scared to go, hey, look, this is what I'm interested in. Vinny, it's because I couldn't actually talk for 9 months. Imagine, listen to me, a Scottish guy like that. 9 months, I couldn't use that mouth until I got over this bad operation.
Yeah.
So it wasn't avoidance, it was just sheer inability to. But I feel as if I've come out of the closet now. Well, hey, I'm interested in UEP.
Amazing, mate. And
But
I
it is
obviously I was
UEP and it's phenomenology. It's not a phenomenon. I am not that
I
guy.
love that. Oh mate, I
Uh-huh.
can't wait. And you know that I'm going to be promoting this project from now until it's done and even
Yeah.
beyond. And for anybody that's watching this now or at the end of the day, the link to register your interest will be added to the description in 5 minutes time. If you're
Yeah.
watching this after the fact, it will be there. Come and check it out. Register your interest. Just you know,
Ask your questions.
ask, yeah, all that kind of stuff. You don't have to kind of sign up to anything, and it's just if you want to know
No.
more, hit us up or hit Ash
Yeah,
up.
indeed.
So
And we've just got a button there. You just have to press it, and we're going to send you the cost right away. And it's just as simple as that. We just need to make sure we field the tire kickers. The people that want to know how much Cowie's charging for a film.
yeah,
I
absolutely,
need to
man.
know there's some kind of base interest in there. That's it. All open and transparent, Vinny. We're making a series together at the start of the year, apparently.
Can't wait, mate. I'm so
Great
hyped.
stuff.
So
All
yeah,
right, great. But we'll see you at the end of January. We'll do this again and try and get some of the crew on board, and we'll get some of the participants, whoever's signed up to join us by then.
yeah, 100%. So listen, Ash, thank you one more time to everyone here. Have a fantastic Christmas. I wish you and your family all the best. Thank you for the support with me over the past 6 months. I hope to see you all back in the new year live with lots more guests. Let's see if we can take it to the next level. Thank you all. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.